they owe you for rent and for property damage.
That's correct.
You took the carpet off.
And I showed them a section of the carpet. We would walk and our socks would be black, our feet would be black. Our toilet got stopped up. I would go with a plunger, it wouldn't even go down, and it never got fixed.
Really?
This is Judy Justice. Isaac Uno is suing his former tenants, Ann V. Kelly and Kevin Jackson, for unpaid rent and property damage.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Kevin.
Hello, Judge. Case number 2116, Uno versus Kelly Jackson.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Uno, you purchased a duplex home, 2 different apartments.
That's correct.
In what month and year did you purchase the home?
November of 2020.
And when you purchased it, one of the duplexes was occupied by the defendants.
That's correct.
It is your claim that they owe you for rent
Yes.
and for property damage.
That's correct.
They are no longer there.
No.
Mr. Jackson?
Yes.
How long were you and your wife living in the duplex before November of 2020?
We moved in June of 2019.
And at the time, do you recall who your landlord was in June of 2019?
Yes.
Between June of 2019, when you first moved in, and November of 2020, when the plaintiff bought the property, was there any work done on that property?
Not at all.
No maintenance?
No maintenance.
Okay. So from the time you moved in, the prior owner did no maintenance on that property, did no painting?
Just the minor stuff before we moved in. They just painted and just had everything looking nice, the floors.
So just a second. So the prior owner painted the premises and did the floors?
Yes, it was carpet and some flooring in the kitchen.
And Mr. Uno did not do any other painting or flooring or any cosmetic work on the duplex when he purchased it in November of 2020.
No.
So whatever was there by the previous owner of the property is still there.
Yes.
I'm just asking you this because your counterclaim is for child endangerment, and the child endangerment is because of lead paint. That's what you write here.
Yes.
He didn't put in the lead paint, right?
Yes, thinking about that.
He didn't paint it. You don't know when it was painted. Maybe it was painted by the prior owner. How do you know? By the way, do you have medical records of the child that you claim has lead poisoning?
Yes.
I'd like to see them.
Jackson hands a document to Kevin, who brings it to Judy.
Yes, you.
She reviews it.
I have no idea what this says.
That's the piece of paper that he gave me from the hospital.
Well, I don't understand
for the
it.
blood work.
I'm not a doctor, so I can't.
Okay.
We have something from the health department also stating that because my son his lead was found in his system, they got involved.
I understand that. He did not paint the apartment.
No, ma'am.
When you, just for my own curiosity, when you bought this place, do you remember the purchase of it? And when you purchase a property, usually there's an inspection.
Yes.
And one of the questions usually has to do with lead paint. Do you remember any of that from when you purchased the property?
I didn't receive any notification of lead paint from the inspectors.
Well, usually they sign off that there is no lead paint.
I don't remember seeing because they never mentioned anything about it.
Nothing about lead paint?
No.
Okay. Did you ever have the home tested, by the way, for lead?
Only when we found out about my son having lead.
Okay. And do you have the test result?
That is right.
And there was lead found in 2 places, not just the bathtub.
Miss Kelly, the issue is he didn't do any of that painting.
Right.
He bought the place. You had been living there for a year and a half before he bought the place.
Right.
Right?
Yes.
Okay. And your son was born within that year and a half.
Well, we moved there, he was 6 months.
He was 6 months old, so he lived there for a year and a half even before he purchased it.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
We did buy the things to fix the bathroom up. He told us to take them back to fix the tub and everything because we asked him to fix it. So the things we had, like to get the tub fixed, the flooring and everything, he told us to take back.
How many people were living in the duplex?
In our apartment?
In your apartment?
4.
4. Including the baby?
Yes, ma'am.
Including the baby. And how old's the other child?
She's 14.
Okay. Do you have that report?
No, this is just stating where it was at.
The health department?
Yes, I thought that piece of paper that I gave you was that one.
No.
This is just
doesn't say
This is just showing where the lead was found in the house.
How old is this duplex?
It was built in 1906, so almost 115 years or so.
Yeah. And certainly used lead paint then.
Possibly, yeah, I'm not sure about
I'm
it.
not sure.
I don't
But-
understand about it.
Ms. Kelly, Mr. Jackson, that's not his fault. That's not his fault. So now I would like to know, Mr. Uno is suing you for rent. And I'd like to know first, how much rent were you paying?
$750.
And that's what you were paying under the old lease?
Yes.
And were you current on your rent when Mr. Uno took over the property?
Yes.
In November of 2020?
Yes.
So far correct?
That's accurate.
When did you stop paying rent?
December of 2021.
So you paid rent for a year?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you working, Mr. Jackson?
Yes, when I first moved in, yes, I was working 2 jobs.
And were you working from November of 2020 to December of 2021?
Yes, I was. It was.
For whom?
Yes, I was. I was working for TGI Fridays.
And Ms. Kelly, were you working?
No, ma'am, I'm disabled.
And how much were you receiving in pay?
I was only getting,
If you have to think about it, you don't remember.
I wasn't getting too much because it was during COVID, and I was working at a restaurant, and I was only allowed to work 3 days out of the week.
Okay. And what happened in December of 2021?
What happened was he already sent us a letter previously saying that he wanted to.
Okay.
Yes, to
So you had no
$1,000.
lease anymore and he wanted to raise the rent. Okay.
Caption coming up.
I believe you. And that was the reason that you used to try to evict them before.
Yes, that was the first one, but I don't agree with his statement.
Well, what statement don't you agree with?
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Isaac, Envy, and Jackson.
Isaac Uno claims his former tenants, Envy Kelly and Kevin Jackson, owe for unpaid rent and property damage. Envy and Kevin are countersuing for child endangerment and a constructive eviction.
And in what month was that?
He sent it to us, I want to say,
Do you remember, Mr. Uno?
It was 90 days before the 1st of December, so that would have been, I think, September 31st or October 31st.
That he was raising the rent to what?
to $1,000 a month.
Effective December.
Yes, December 1st.
And what happened in December?
We were at that time looking for a new apartment, and at that time it was hard because around that time a lot of the rent was going up from just being like $800, $900 to like $1,200 to $1,400 for rent for for a month there.
Don't speak.
Okay.
And that was why we stopped paying rent, because we were actually looking for a house. Even when he gave us the 90 days.
Okay. So, Mr. Jackson, based upon what you just told me, so stop shaking your head, based upon what you told me, your landlord gave you 90 days notice that if you wished to stay on, he was raising your rent to $1,000 a month.
Yes.
And you started to look around for a new place.
Yes.
And the new places were very expensive.
Yes.
And you didn't find a place.
No.
So you decided to stay in this place.
No.
So what did you do?
We.
So if you
Actually,
didn't
we-
find a place
Yeah, we decided
in December,
We was trying to stay there until we found a place.
I assume they paid rent in September.
Yes,
Oh yes, yes.
In October,
yes,
Yes.
they paid rent in October.
yes.
Good. And November?
November was the last month that they paid.
So they paid in November.
Yes.
So you stopped paying rent in December of 20.
Yes.
Do you don't? No, you cannot.
Okay.
If I need you,
Yes,
I'll
ma'am.
come to you.
Okay, yes, ma'am.
Okay?
Okay.
Because so far he's doing fine. You stopped paying rent in December of 2021. Tell me why.
We didn't want to live there ourselves anymore either, but it was just a lot of things going on at the house. Like after my father passed away, and he first gave us the first eviction notice, because he gave us more than one.
Just a second.
Okay, I'm sorry.
We're skipping over.
Okay.
He didn't give you an eviction notice, I assume, until you stopped paying rent.
No, before December, he gave us like 3 of them. I think I want to say 3.
Really?
Yes.
Why were you trying to evict them before?
They had torn up the carpet upstairs. It was a moratorium for evictions, but there was a stipulation that emergency evictions for nuisance tenants could be granted before then.
Is there any reason why you took up the carpets?
Yes. The same thing. Before he took over, everything was in the house before that, and we complained to the previous owner that the carpet was already dirty, They said that they were going to come and shampoo it, but never did. Like, we would walk and our socks would be black, our feet would be black, so we wanted to take the carpet up. It was dirty to us. And I myself actually told him about it. I went downstairs to his apartment because he lived downstairs from us, talked to him about it. He came upstairs and I showed him a section of the carpet that wasn't even connected to the floor. You can lift up the whole carpet and like across a whole section of the wall. And then when I did that, he seen that the hardwood looked kind of decent. And then instead of putting new carpet on, he wanted the hardwood to get sanded down and just get stained and and lacquered over.
So you took the carpet off?
Yes.
I believe you. Sounds right, Mr. Okay. And that was the reason that you used to try to evict them before?
Yes, that was the first one. But I don't agree with his statement.
Well, what statement don't you agree with?
Well, a number of things that he said. I didn't authorize him. We spoke. I asked him in the first meeting if there was anything that they wanted to have spruced up or anything as a good gesture, and they took it upon themselves to take up the carpet without my permission.
Okay, not a huge deal. Not a huge deal. You can use it as a huge deal if you want your tenants out because you can re-rent that duplex for substantially more money.
It was more about their conduct, that they were being very disturbing behavior and just being off the wall. So I wanted them out for a lot of reasons.
Well, I know, but only one of them qualified under the eviction moratorium.
Yes, for emergency of dismantling the
Only
place.
one, and that would have been the carpet. Okay, Mr. Jackson.
Yes.
I'm back to you, sir. I haven't figured out yet. You stopped paying rent in December, and you moved out in what month?
We didn't move out until June.
June. So January, February, March, April, and May. Let's say 5 months' rent that you didn't pay, correct?
Yes.
Why?
Can I speak, Your Honor?
No, him. Tell me why you didn't pay the 5 months' rent, Mr. Jackson.
We just figured that, we didn't figure. We didn't want to pay him $1,000 because to us.
Okay, so
we felt
let's
that-
say you didn't want to pay him $1,000, even though you just told me finding another place would be more expensive, right? You said $1,200, $1,400, but you didn't give him $750. You gave him $0 for those 5 months. So I'm going to come back to you, Mr. Jackson. Does your wife receive disability payments because of her disability?
Yes.
Yes. How much a month?
That I don't know.
How much a month do you receive, Ms. Kelly?
$1,000.
$1,000. And did you continue to receive that $1,000 every month from December until June?
Yes, ma'am.
You see, certain things remain constant. Your disability payments remain constant.
Right.
If you live in an apartment and you have the same sort of income, then you pay rent.
Right.
And if you didn't pay $1,000, so I hear you. Well, that's what he said he wanted. And he's the landlord. And he's allowed to do that if you're going to stay in his premises. But you paid nothing, Mr. Jackson, and that's what I don't understand.
Well, the furnace was busted.
Just a second.
Yeah.
Miss Kelly.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
What? You paid nothing.
Yeah, nothing.
Where did you move in June?
Moved in the same area, like probably 10 minutes away from that particular street.
Is it a private house or an apartment?
It's a house. It's a duplex as well.
Duplex. So the same sort of setup. And how much rent are you paying?
Pay $950.
So almost as much as he wanted in his rent. But are you more comfortable in that unit?
Yes.
Okay.
Caption coming up.
My wife walked down there and asked, was he the landlord? He just said that he was the building manager. So nobody even got rent for the month of November when we lived there, not him or even the previous people, because he didn't even come upstairs to introduce us.
Well, I wouldn't complain about that, sir, if you're ahead of the game so far.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Isaac, Anvy, and Jackson.
Isaac claims his tenants, Anvy Kelly and Kevin Jackson, owe for unpaid rent and property damage. Anvy and Kevin claim Isaac forced them to leave.
Now, you saved over 5 months, let's say minimally $750.
$37.50.
$37.50. Now, Mr. the only question that I have to ask you is, Mr. Jackson and Miss Kelly say that they filled out some sort of forms for rent relief during COVID, and you signed it, And they say you received money from the state for any unpaid rent. Did you receive any money from the state for rent that they didn't pay?
No, I approached them with an application, but the program that funds the landlord relief for the moratorium was only open for 1 month, and I came and went, and I missed it, and I never got it. So I did have them fill out something. It was just a hardship thing, but they didn't give me the money for it. I never received anything.
So you didn't receive any money. So far, Ms. Kelly and Mr. Jackson, you owe Mr. $3,750 for rent that you didn't pay while you occupied his premises. You, your furniture, your children, I don't care what it is. That's what you didn't pay. And you can't save up your money and not pay your landlord. That's his business. Just like you work for Fridays and you get your pay when you're supposed to, that's his business. He bought a house. He was counting on the income from that house to pay some of his expenses, and you didn't pay it. Well, there's no question you have to pay it. Now you have a counterclaim. I've already gotten rid of child endangerment. This is 150 years old. Constructive eviction. So I'd like you to tell me your allegations of constructive eviction.
Is that like from him not doing anything to the apartment while we lived there?
I assume you say you were constructively evicted.
Yes, he.
But you didn't leave.
Yes, he has a couple of text messages in here where he says that he actually came up to the apartment to check things. He brought up when he first got there in November, we didn't have a working toilet until.
Just a second.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
So before he bought it, is that what you're telling me?
I mean, not before. I'm sorry. When he got the apartment in November, the previous owners, we were trying to contact to see who we pay for rent.
Just a second.
Okay, yeah.
He bought the duplex in November of 2020.
Yes.
Is what you're telling me, Mr. Jackson, that certain things weren't working prior to his purchasing the property?
No, I'm sorry. I want to take that back. After he purchased it, we didn't even know he purchased it because he was living downstairs, and my wife walked down there and asked, was he the landlord? And he just said that he was the building manager. So nobody even got rent for the month of November when we lived there, not him or even the previous people, because he didn't even come upstairs and introduce us.
Well, but, I wouldn't complain about that, sir, if you're ahead of the game so far. If you didn't pay rent for November. You didn't pay the prior landlord and you didn't pay him. So far you're ahead $750. Okay, keep going.
To go back to the November, So during November, our toilet got stopped up, like right before Thanksgiving.
So shortly after he purchased it, he hadn't been up in the apartment, right?
No.
Just you, your wife, your teenage daughter, and the baby.
Yeah, and the kids.
Okay, and the toilet got stopped up, and
he brought in a plumber, and then the guy found out that my son put a little toy in there, and he actually got the toy out.
Toilet was broken by your son. Okay, so now the plumber said, here's the toy. Kid threw a toy down the toilet. Not an unusual and
then the very next month in December, my son didn't put anything down there. The toilet started acting up again. It wouldn't flush for like all the way up until the next year, and it never got fixed. But it was from...
Well, you had to have... Sir, you live there with 3 adults. So there had to be a functioning toilet in the house.
It wasn't functioning.
So where did you go to use a functioning restroom?
Her mom lived up the street from us, so sometimes we lived up the street, or sometimes we would just still use the toilet.
Okay. You owe him $3,750 for rent that you didn't pay. Counterclaims dismissed. We're finished. Thank you very much.
This court is adjourned.
Outside the courtroom, Isaac, then Jackson.
I had to collect money, a monetary judgment through the courts.
Him being the landlord, he left us like living in crappy conditions.
It was a unbearable situation that I was going through with the noise and the disturbances.
Yeah, he never came up there at all to fix anything.
And the destruction of the property.
He just started making up so many rules, to make it uncomfortable for us to live there.
Well, it was, it's pretty quiet now.
That man is crazy. I'm glad it's over with.
Judy and Sarah.
You know what I think is interesting, Sarah, with these cases, we've had a lot of them. The forgiveness that the government wanted to show to people who were having trouble during COVID, work-related trouble, didn't have the same income, and didn't want to have a whole bunch of dispossessed homeless people. It came from a good place, as did some of the monies that were sent out by the government to sort of help people over a difficult time during the height of COVID. But then there are other people who suffer as a result of that, like a landlord who buys a property, a duplex property. Part of it is for income so that they can pay off mortgage, taxes, lawn service, whatever you have to pay on a house. And then the defendants, who really had no changed circumstances that they indicated to me. He was working, she was getting whatever she gets from disability, which is not insubstantial. I don't know if they get any other assistance for any of their other children, but certainly they moved into a place that's more expensive now, that's not far away. They just decided not to pay rent. And I don't think that that is the spirit of what either the federal government or the states who enacted it meant to happen, because the plaintiff owner of this property has rights too. Yeah. You've taken away a right of his.
I agree to an extent, but I also think that that's more a problem on the government's implementation of the moratorium in the first place. That's what ended up hurting the landlord. These people were simply taking advantage of a legal loophole that was created for them. He was in the restaurant business, which, as we know, was one of the toughest hit by COVID.
Right.
She was on a fixed income that wouldn't be enough to cover, well, barely enough to cover the rent on its own. And then they have to support themselves, feed themselves. They have 2 children. So I'm sympathetic towards the taking advantage of a legal loophole. So I don't know, if I was in your position, I might have decided differently.
Okay.
But that's okay.
All
We
right.
can agree to disagree.
That sometimes happens.
Title: Judy Justice.
Have you been cheated? Go to judyjustice.tv.
You were out walking the family dog.
Yes. The pit bull latched onto my dog, and my dog was squealing a lot.
My dog is not vicious, and she likes to play with little dogs.
Clearly not on this day. She didn't like to play with other dogs.
This is Judy Justice is suing her neighbor, Heather Stevens, for vet bills and pain and suffering after a dog attack.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Kevin approaches the bench.
Hello, Judge. Case 2139, Stevens versus Stevens.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Although your names sound the same, they're spelled differently, and you are clearly not related based upon this case. You live in the same general area.
Yes.
Okay. Could you step up?
A young woman.
Tell me your name.
Emily Feringer,
This is your daughter.
Yes.
How long have you been living in your house?
8.5 years.
How old are you?
22.
Tell me what you do.
I work at a bakery right now, and I'm a full-time college student.
Where do you go to school?
Idaho State University.
You were out walking the family dog.
Yes.
Family has one dog?
Just one, yeah.
What kind of dog?
It's a miniature schnauzer.
Weighs about 10, 12 pounds?
Yeah, around there, 15-ish.
How old is the dog?
He is 9.
You've had him since he was a puppy.
Yes.
This case has to do with injuries that your dog sustained.
Yes.
And the payment of vet bills by the defendant, who you allege has 2 dogs unleashed that attacked your dog while you were walking.
Correct.
Him.
Just one dog.
One dog.
One.
One dog attacked our dog.
You have a pit bull.
Yes, ma'am.
What color?
White and brown.
How old?
She's 5.
Is that the only dog you have?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Tell me what date you were walking the dog that this incident happened.
July 26, 2021.
Time.
Around 8 p.m.
Dark?
No.
Still light out.
Yes, ma'am.
Were you walking in the neighborhood?
I was walking down the sidewalk, and I passed the defendant's house, and I reached the end of the sidewalk.
Your dog's name is what?
Jax?
On a leash?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you always walk the dog on a leash?
We do.
Tell me what happened.
I was walking down the sidewalk, and I reached the end of the sidewalk. I was about to cross the street, and...
Do you have a picture or diagram?
I do. I
of where
have a
this
diagram.
happened? May I see it, please? Oh, okay. There it is. Would you go over to the diagram so that you can point directly and I can understand where this happened?
A map of the street corner.
I was standing right here, and I noticed the dog come up on my left side.
On your left side?
Yes.
Did you notice from where the dog came?
It seemed to be out in the street when it approached me.
So it didn't come from the defendant's house, it came from the street?
Yes. It had been on the left-hand side of me. And then the pit bull latched onto my dog on its leg.
What color pit bull?
Brown and white.
Was there any fighting or a scuffle before?
No, ma'am. It just ran up to me, and it latched onto my dog's leg, and it picked my dog up and was yanking it around in the air. And it was very loud, and my dog was squealing a lot and crying out very loudly. So I yanked his leash, so that I didn't have to bend down and get hurt myself. And I picked him up and I ran back.
So you yanked him up by his leash?
I did.
Okay. Did he have what kind of a collar on? A regular collar or one of those harnesses?
We have both, so I'm not sure which one he was wearing at that time, but I believe he was wearing the collar.
Just the collar?
Yes.
So you lifted him up by the collar?
Yes.
Did you see where the dog went?
I do not remember. I think the pit bull ran back into the defendant's household.
But you're not sure?
I'm not sure.
What did you do next?
We took the dog to the animal hospital.
Okay. You can go back now.
Emily rejoins Audrey at the plaintiff's table.
Stand close to you.
Sorry.
Had you ever seen this dog before?
I have.
Where had you seen the dog before?
I've seen the pit bull in multiple places around the neighborhood. I've seen it across...
That same dog?
Yes. I've seen it across the street in that across the street neighbor's yard, and I've also seen it in my yard, and it's also been next to my chain link fence before.
Did you or you, Ms. Stevens, ever have a conversation with the defendant about the dog being unleashed?
I have not spoken to her at all.
For how long have you seen her unleashed dog out and about?
Probably about 10 times.
Have you ever said anything to your mother about seeing this dog outside?
I have.
Okay. I'm listening.
Yes, ma'am. May I show you on the
Absolutely.
on the diagram? Thank you.
Absolutely.
Okay. First of all,
No, don't tell me first of all.
Okay.
Were you there at approximately
Yes.
8 p.m.
Yes, I
on
was.
July 26th?
correct, I was.
Okay, where were you? Show me where you were.
I was right here. I was loading a fridge into my home. I had my dog right here in the middle of the driveway, chained to the fence, okay? She came from across the crosswalk here, because I have a witness as well to show. She came from the crosswalk with her dog in front of her. She came across right into my driveway. The dog went into my driveway, and my dog went up to her, and they began to fight.
You're going like this.
Yes.
You're going like this. I don't want you to go like this.
Okay.
So your dog was on a chain.
Yes, ma'am.
A chain that extended almost to the end of your driveway.
Correct.
So show me exactly with your finger
Okay, yes.
where you say this confrontation between the pit bull and the schnauzer took place.
Right here, ma'am.
Well, you're pointing to about a foot. Well, now you keep moving your finger.
Right here.
Heather points at the end of her driveway. Caption coming up.
You know that I don't believe that your dog hasn't been out and about in the neighborhood, unleashed.
No, ma'am. I don't let my dog off a leash.
We do have pictures of the dog as well, if you'd like to see those.
Oh, do you?
We
Yes.
do.
You mean out and about?
Yes.
I'd like to see that.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Audrey, Emily, and Heather.
Audrey Stevens claims her neighbor, Heather Stevens, owes for vet bills after her dog was injured by Heather's pit bull.
Now you're moving your finger. So you're saying it's right at the end of your driveway?
Yes, ma'am.
Just a second. It was up further 5 seconds ago.
Okay,
Now
my
you
dog was right here,
yeah,
ma'am.
Yeah.
The fight
Okay.
occurred right here.
Well, now your finger is at a different place, madam. I'm
Well-
just letting you know your finger moves up the driveway.
Right, I'd say right here.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Heather returns to the defendant's table.
You know that I don't believe that.
I know you don't believe that, Your
You,
Honor, but
you
that's
know,
what happened.
you know that I don't believe that your dog hasn't been out and about in the neighborhood. Do you know that I don't believe that? I don't think she's lying to me that your dog's been out and about in the neighborhood, unleashed.
No, ma'am. I don't let my dog off a leash.
We do have pictures of the dog as well, if you'd like to see those.
Oh, do you?
We
Yes.
You mean out and about?
Yes.
Oh, I'd like to see that.
And this is after.
Shh, shh.
Sorry.
I don't care before or after.
Yeah.
She just said, I don't let my dog go out without a leash.
Well, this is the injury.
Audrey hands photos to Kevin, who brings them to Judy. She looks at 2 photos of an unleashed pit bull.
Ms. Stevens, these pictures belie the fact that your dog is out, leashed only. Do you want to see the photograph?
Yes, ma'am, please.
Kevin brings the photos to Heather, who reviews them.
Yes, Your Honor, I do see that, but I was outside with my dog at that time.
I don't care whether you were outside with your dog or not. You said your dog is never out without a leash. That's not true. That's not true. Were you a witness to this?
Yes, ma'am.
Be very careful. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
A woman rises.
Tell me your name.
My name is Karen Brennan.
Are you a neighbor?
No, I am a friend
A friend of whose?
of Heather Stevens.
Go ahead.
Well, on that day,
On what day?
on July 26, I was helping Heather with the fridge.
With the what?
With the refrigerator. And I was approaching the driveway,
Just a second. You were helping her with the refrigerator doing what?
bringing the dolly out so it can be moved
Bringing the dolly out from where?
from the side of the house.
And?
And I looked over and I saw the little dog and it caught
You
my eye.
saw what?
The little dog. And it caught my eye because every time before, anytime I put the dog out, Miss Stevens' dog, that little dog, if it was in the backyard, would continually bark it.
Just a second. Did you put the dog out that day?
No, I did not that day. But I recognized
So
the
you
dog.
did not put the dog out
No,
that day?
not that day.
Okay. What time did you get to Miss Stevens' house?
Mid-afternoon.
What's her dog's name?
Lily.
Was Lily chained to the fence all afternoon?
When we were...
Was Lily chained to the fence all afternoon? That's either a yes or a no. When you were there. That's either a yes or a no. Was Lily chained to the fence all afternoon when you were there? You said you got there mid-afternoon. This happened at 8 o'clock. Was the dog chained to the fence all the time you were there? Yes or a no? Or I don't know. No.
No.
Where was the dog?
In the backyard.
Until what time?
Until around 7-ish or so. I don't know the exact time, but it was mid-evening.
Okay. And what happened at that time when the dog was moved from the backyard outside of the backyard? Who moved the dog?
We went to go get the refrigerator.
No. Who moved the dog?
Heather did.
She took the dog from the backyard.
Yes.
Just a second. To the backyard, to the driveway, to the driveway, because that's where she pointed out that the dog was chained to the driveway fence.
Yes. When we came back from we went to go get the refrigerator.
Just a minute. Well, you didn't tell me, so you left the house.
Yes.
What time did you leave the house?
Mid-afternoon. It was like...
What time?
Approximately 4 or 5.
Okay. And the dog at that time was where?
With us in the vehicle.
So you had the dog in the car, so the dog was in the backyard.
Yes.
And then from the backyard, the dog went with you in the car.
Correct.
And then what?
And then we picked up the refrigerator, and we came back, and then she had chained her.
Okay, so from the car, the dog went to the fence, which is chained sort of midway up the fence, according to the defendant. Sort of midway up the driveway.
Correct.
Is where she chained the dog.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Correct.
Then where did you go?
And then I went to go get the dolly and bring it around so we could get the fridge out.
Okay, and where did Miss Stevens stay?
She was in the driveway.
And it was when you were coming out of the backyard that you saw Miss Stevens in the driveway?
Yes.
And saw the little dog?
Yes.
She was in the driveway. Was she next to the dog? Go over there and point out where she was. Would you in the driveway?
Karen points at the driveway.
She was...
She, Miss Stevens.
That Miss Stevens, yes.
Your friend?
Yes.
Was right in the middle of the driveway, near where the dog was chained?
Yes.
And show me where the defendant's house is, because you had been in the house earlier that day. Point on that diagram where the house is.
Right here.
Where it says defendant.
Yes.
That's the whole house. And where's the front door?
Right here.
Up there. And where's the porch on the front door?
Right there.
Okay. Now that's not where she was. She was in the driveway.
Correct.
Okay, now go back. Now I'm going to read to you what your friend Miss Stevens wrote and swore to in her answer. I was standing on the porch, maneuvering the fridge inside, and I saw a little dog sniffing around and walking up my driveway. She said she was on the porch.
Well, she was back.
That's where she said she was, on the porch. I know the plaintiff's dog is a barker since it has come to the backside of my property and barked at my dog through the fence. The dog walked all the way up the driveway to where my dog was. Now, you want to think back? Miss Stevens says she was standing on the porch. You were very certain she was standing mid-driveway right near her dog. Which one is it?
Well, we were trying to maneuver the fridge, so we were back and forth.
No. Which one is it? Was she on the porch, which is all the way at the other end?
Yes.
Or was she mid-driveway?
Mid-driveway.
She was mid-driveway. So
Yep.
Miss Stevens lied when she said she was on the porch.
Caption coming up.
I didn't look at a police report. I listened to
It's on
your.
one
I
side.
listened to you,
Yes, Your Honor.
and I listened to your witness.
Yes.
And you and the witness that you brought told two divergent stories, two totally different stories. She was your witness.
Heather's eyes widen. A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Audrey, Emily, Heather, and Karen.
Audrey Stevens is accusing her neighbor, Heather Stevens, of losing control of her pit bull. Heather claims Audrey's dog ran onto her property.
So Miss Stevens lied when she said she was on the porch. That's what she says in her answer. I was on the porch when this happened. You understand? Do you understand?
Yes.
Sit.
Karen sits.
Can I see your vet bills, please?
Your Honor, I have a video of my dog. Can we present the video that I have brought?
You mean for that day?
Yes, ma'am.
For that-
No, not for that day. No, not for that day, but just to show you that my dog is not vicious.
Oh, what?
That she likes to play with little dogs.
Clearly not on this day. She didn't like to play with other dogs.
That dog is constantly barking at my dog in the backyard, and that's the only. My dog loves dogs. I have obedient records.
Miss Stevens,
Yes.
I want you to understand something.
Yes, ma'am.
Whether the Schnauzer is a barker or not a barker, I told you, I didn't believe you when you told me that her dog was off leash. I didn't believe that. Either you or your witness lied. I don't know which one. So I'm going to have to assume it was your witness. Do you want me to assume it was your witness or you? So one of you lied. She says you were in a totally different place. She was coming out from the backyard. That's where she was. She had gone to get the dolly. You said you were maneuvering the refrigerator up on the porch.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, who is telling me the truth? You want to tell me?
It was a very hectic day.
It was a very hectic day.
Yeah.
And I have photographs of your dog, despite the fact that you tell me that your dog is never off leash, always on leash. I have 3 photographs taken 3 different times of your dog being off leash. Now, there's no question that your dog caused the injuries to the dog.
This has been going on for over a year in court. They dismissed it in criminal court, and there's a reason why they dismissed it.
Just a second.
Yes,
You're
ma'am.
going to try to tell me why they dismissed the case in criminal court? You have a document. I mean, I understand that they filed a criminal case against you.
There was a criminal case that was dismissed, Your Honor.
That's okay. That has nothing to do with this civil proceeding. You know, somebody may not want to put you in jail because you let your pit bull roam around without a leash. Somebody may not want to put you in jail, but you are clearly responsible for this dog's injuries. You are. If you have a pit bull, and pit bulls can be dangerous dogs, they can turn on a dime and cause serious injury. Pit bull lovers, I don't want to hear from you. I've been going through it for 25 years. Some of them are nice. Some of them are not nice. But when they're not nice and they turn, they have configurations that can cause a great deal of injury. One killed a woman who was babysitting for it.
I understand, Your Honor.
So you do understand.
I believe, may I say something? I believe that a dog is how it was raised, okay? I've raised that dog from a baby. She's never been mean like that. That dog that lives next door, which is Miss Stevens' dog, yaps at my dog every single day. She goes outside, yaps, 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 yaps at her.
So what you're telling me is your dog, so if what you're telling me is that your dog had the right to be aggravated because the dog yaps at her all the time, that's not a reason to let any dog, but especially a dog that has potential to cause injury, out without a leash. And you do that regularly, and you can't do that.
Your Honor, can I also add that I did have a brief interaction with Miss Stevens on the day that it occurred, and it seemed like she did come out of the street with the dog. I don't believe she was in the driveway. She offered help for me.
She did?
Yes, before I went home.
And
where was
not
she?
to interrupt, but we also have video of her acknowledging fault with the officer's body cam video.
What is that?
They have a body cam on when he was talking to her when she said she's really sorry and she's going to pay the vet bill.
Oh, may I see that, please?
Body cam footage.
Getting ready to take her for a walk. We were moving in a fridge.
Oh, okay.
And she jumped out of the car when she seen that little dog because I was getting ready to get in the car and
Gotcha.
right on the corner here.
Okay. So were they just across the street then?
No, they were right here.
They were just right here on the sidewalk. Okay.
I'm going to pay the bill, I know, and whatever I got to do.
Yeah, so she's down at the clinic now.
It was a bite on him, on his shoulder, I think.
On the shoulder?
Yeah.
Okay.
And she was just protecting me.
Sure.
That's all. And I'll pay the bill.
Now you're responsible.
And I want to
for,
apologize.
So. Sure.
I feel bad. I do feel bad about it. I do love dogs. I'm a dog lover. And I do feel bad. And I believe she just said, the defendant just said that she was in the street when that happened. It was in my driveway that happened, Your Honor. I'm just saying, we want to be honest.
Was your dog on a chain?
My dog was on a chain, Your Honor. Another thing, I never got my side of the story added to that at all. It was all one-sided. The whole police report was one-sided, Your Honor.
I didn't look at a police report, madam.
I have one right here.
Just a second. I didn't look at a police report. I listened
It's
to
all
your.
one-sided.
I listened to you.
Yes, Your Honor.
And I listened to your witness.
Yes.
And you and the witness that you brought told two divergent stories, two totally different stories. She was your witness.
Yes.
Easily confused, but she was your witness. And you should have prepared her better, consistent with what your answer was. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor. I wasn't trying to.
Very, very good. Okay. Pain and suffering, unfortunately, is not yours. If you had had injury to yourself, and I think that the law is a little crazy there, but we can't gauge pain and suffering for an animal. Anyway, your vet bills were $435.
Your Honor, we just added that just because,
I understand.
Blatant disregard and the dog's still out all the time.
Oh, no, excuse me. The total with tax was $441. Judgment for the plaintiff. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
Outside the courtroom, Emily, then Karen and Heather.
It's been a struggle just because of how long it's been going on.
It was a crazy day.
The dog almost got to our dog's leg bone and broke it.
Because the dog is always japping at my dog.
It was pretty scary.
So it surprised me that happened.
He was bleeding and everything.
She's not vicious whatsoever.
We ran him up to the hospital.
The animal control never get in my house.
I had a feeling that Judy would see right through her, so.
I love dogs, and I felt sorry for the little dog.
I'm happy about the settlement and how we got our money.
Judy and Sarah.
I'm not even going to get on my soapbox with regard to dogs that are potentially dangerous. There's no question that this lady has a dog that she's had from a puppy, and the dog has never caused her any difficulty, but there's also no question that she lets that dog out without a leash.
I mean, they had proof of different occasions of the dog out and about.
After this happened.
This incident.
After this incident.
So you can, I think that's also a great lesson, that you can feel bad and be an animal lover and want to take care of the bill. But if you don't take any subsequent remedial measures to fix your bad behavior that caused this great deal of injury, then I don't really believe you that you feel sorry or that you're a dog lover.
Well, that's an interesting perspective.
Yeah, I mean, you knew what you had to do to ensure the safety of the dogs and other people in your neighborhood, and you chose not to do that. So
after it had already had an incident.
Exactly.
At least one.
Yeah.
Title, Judy Justice.
Want justice? Go to judyjustice.tv.
Why are we paying for the child that doesn't go to school anymore?
Your child was dismissed from school for cheating.
He did have a paper with him, but he did not cheat it.
He got caught 3 times.
What do?
You tell your son you better straighten up, stop making excuses.
This is Judy Justice. Is suing her customer, Jack McCurcheon, for tuition and administrative fees.
Court come to order. All rise.
Judge Judy enters.
Have a seat, please.
Kevin approaches.
Hello, Judge. Case number 2126, Slago versus McCurcheon.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Judy turns to Robin.
You run a school.
Yes, ma'am. It's a program.
Is it a school or a program?
It's a program.
What's the difference?
The program is not a school where the children come every day. They come twice a week. Parents.
They come twice a week online.
No, we are
in person.
Yes.
Okay, so twice a week they are there at a brick and mortar place.
Yes.
And how long have you had this program?
We actually started this program during the lockdown in 2020 spring. So this is at the end of our first semester of our 3rd year.
Okay, and tell me, who runs the program?
I do.
You have an educational background?
I do. I have a master's in education.
Does anybody run the program with you?
I have a staff, but I'm the sole director.
Is this an annual program?
We do operate on a semesterly basis as far as payments, but the classes just roll over from first semester to second semester.
And is there a contract?
Yes.
Okay, and you're going to show me the contract that the defendant signed on behalf of his son?
Yes.
Because that's what this case is about?
Yes.
The only interesting part of the case is your son was enrolled in the program. He was terminated from the program for let's say, misconduct.
That's true.
And it was misconduct that was replicated in violation of the rules at least 3 times.
Kind of.
Not kind of, at least 3 times that you acknowledge.
Okay.
That's not an okay. That's not an
It's
okay.
not.
That's either a yes or a no. I mean, I read about 3 instances of cheating. You acknowledge that in your answer.
Well, it's different. It's different.
You mean he cheated differently?
No, he didn't cheat
Yes, well, that's what-
differently. I mean, I can explain.
It was explained in the papers.
Okay.
And you weren't there, so you can't explain. But you acknowledge the fact that he cheated. He was given a warning. You were advised. He cheated again. You were given a warning, and he was allowed to continue. On the 3rd such event, the school terminated him. Is that what I read?
Yes, ma'am.
And that's what you acknowledge in your papers.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, well, that's a yes. And he was within a semester. You would pay the tuition and then try to reverse the payment because you paid on a credit card.
Yes, I paid with credit card. Yes.
Okay, and then when you got the bill, you challenged that payment, which you had in fact received, and whatever you told the credit card company as a result of what you told them, the payment was reversed and taken off your credit card.
That is correct.
Right. And so they are here now seeking that tuition payment from a court. That's why we're here, to see whether contractually, because this is a breach of contract action, you were obligated to pay the tuition even though your son was not in the program because he was dismissed for cause, which you acknowledge. Are we clear on where we are?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Good. So now I'm going to look at the contract.
I'd like to add that.
Just let me look at the
Oh,
contract
okay.
first.
Judy reviews a document.
If you see contract, they're signed by my party. I want to see it too because I don't see my name. I sign a contract. That's a statement probably, or it's a.
It's a payment agreement.
Yes.
That's not
Did
a
they-
contract,
Yeah, payment agreement is a contract, sir.
but signed by
It's a-
me.
Well, it says signed Arena and Jack.
Okay.
Is Arena your wife?
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay. So this says, I understand that payments are due even if classes or memberships are dropped, subject to the refund policy. Well, what's the refund policy and where is that in writing?
It is on our website, and they signed it. It was a form that they had to sign.
Well, I'd like to see the form that they signed, because I have to see what the terms are of that.
These are the terms of the refund.
Robin hands a document to Kevin, who brings it to Judy.
Thank you.
That's a screenshot of our website.
Now, the website is unimportant to me. You say you have an agreement signed by them. I'd like to see it.
Well, the agreement that we have signed was the installment agreement, so I'm sorry.
Well, I only have one payment agreement. What I said I want to see is a refund policy. You said you have that they signed. I don't see
They
that
don't sign the policy. They sign
Well-
the agreement. The policy is a written policy.
Well, I would like to see the written policy.
That's what we have on our website, and it's clearly...
No.
No? Okay.
No, what you have to do is you have to incorporate something by agreement in this contract. If you say the refund policy as outlined in the website, because other than that, it's meaningless.
Okay.
You know, you're saying we have a refund policy, and we assume that you looked on the website to see what the policy is.
We also do go over it in parent meetings with the parents.
That you can't do because you have a written agreement.
Right.
And anything that's outside of that agreement, unless it's referenced in the agreement, is inadmissible because the intention of it is to somehow change or modify the terms of your written contract. Okay, so in what month did the defendant's son start the program?
In August of 2021.
And it runs in 2 semesters. And when was he terminated?
He was terminated in February of 2022.
You were in a semester program?
Yes.
So am I correct that the first 2 episodes of cheating were in the first semester?
Yes.
When?
The first one was early in November. It happened to be the 3rd week of our 2nd semester. The next one was a couple of weeks later in the same month of November.
Okay, so the semester had started.
Second semester.
Yes. And on what day in February was he terminated?
He was terminated on February 24th, I believe, yes.
And when you terminated, the defendant, I assume, paid the entire semester's tuition for the second semester.
The second semester, he signed the installment agreement, which is what you have there.
This is a payment agreement.
Right, that's it.
Well,
We agreed
just
to
a-
pay in
just a second.
installments.
No, it says, I agree to pay all charges by due dates according to the payment plan. I don't have a signed payment plan from anybody. Do you have one?
I'm sorry, that's what we use for our signed payment plan.
Well, you should use something different. This is not a payment plan. This says he will pay according to a payment plan. I'm looking for the payment plan. You pay by the month, you pay by the semester. How do you pay?
It's a semesterly fee that's broken into 4 payments, so they don't have to pay it all up front.
Okay.
They can choose to, but
And so when was the defendant's last payment?
they paid through the semester,
Through what semester?
second semester,
Okay, so they paid in full.
through the installment. So what happens is they agree to be automatically billed. And so every month, a certain amount comes out.
Just a second. So what you're saying is when they sign up, they give you authority to pull out from their bank
Yes,
whatever the tuition is for that month.
right.
Okay. And according to your records, when was the last payment that you received for the defendant's son prior to terminating him?
Prior to terminating him, we received a payment in February.
And you terminated him on February 24th?
Yes.
How much was that payment?
It was, have it right here.
Robin flips through documents.
You know what? I don't know.
$350 every
It's
month.
300, that's right. $350.
I know I got charged the extra month, so I know the number.
Okay. So it was $350 that you paid the beginning of February, and he was there in February.
That is correct.
Okay. In what month did you dispute the charge?
Well, I
No, not well. I said, in what month?
May. I only realized in May she's been charging.
Just a second.
Caption, coming up.
He was plagiarized by teachers.
It was plagiarized by teachers.
He was given notice because he lied on a test by teacher, yeah? But it's not exactly what happened.
They're not in the business of expelling children. They're in the business of keeping children in school.
But-
You really have to get this through your head.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Robin and Jack.
Robin Slago claims her customer, Jack McCurcheon, owes for tuition and administrative fees.
So you paid in February, and your son was there in February.
That is correct.
Did you pay in March?
It was taken out of my account without me knowing, but yes.
Is that $350?
That is correct.
And did you pay in April?
I did pay in April.
Okay. Now, the May payment, is the May payment the payment that you canceled?
No, on the May, I also paid for a May payment. Looking at my statements, I said, why are we paying for the child? He doesn't go to school anymore. And that's where I called them. And then I called my credit card company, explained to what happened. They said, we are going to charge the money back to your account. And that's when I kind of looked through paperwork, and I'm an immigrant in this country. I don't read really well. I can speak. And my son, he's a young guy, and he knows exactly what it is. And that's what I brought him. I said, can you see, do we owe these people money? And if you guys allow it, I can have Alex to explain what here shows.
Just see it. He doesn't have to explain anything to me.
Okay.
I'm not new to the country, and I was legally trained, so I don't need your son. I assume you're not legally trained?
I am not.
To interpret something,
No,
a
just-
piece of paper. So now I will look at the piece of paper that you're relying on, but I want to tell you this, sir.
Jack hands a document to Kevin.
I pay the tuition for a lot of people, a lot, because I have 13 grandchildren
Okay.
in school.
Okay.
I'll take that, Kevin. Thank you, I'm sorry. I know that if one of my kids or grandkids goes to school and gets expelled, and I've paid the tuition, because I'm not on a payment plan, parents send the bill directly. and so I pay the tuition, but I know if one of the kids in November, once I pay the tuition, gets caught cheating on a test or plagiarizing a paper and he or she is dismissed from the school, they're not going to give me my tuition back, even though he's not in school. I'm not going to get the tuition back for that semester.
That's true.
That's what I'm telling you. I know that. So now I'm going to see what you want me to read that suggests that in this case, even though your son was terminated for cause from the school for cheating.
Dismissal versus termination is different.
No, it's not different at all. It's this exact same thing. Dismissed, terminated, expelled, all the same thing. If you look them up under synonyms for each other in the dictionary, you will find they're all the same. He was excised from the school because he cheated despite multiple warnings. So he was expelled from cause. I just want you to understand that. Did you go to college?
Currently enrolled.
Currently. Stand up. You look like a nice young man. Where do you go to school?
Cal Poly Pomona.
And who pays the tuition?
I do.
Now, what's your first name?
Alex.
Now, Alex, you do know that if you got expelled from college for cheating in the middle of a semester, you wouldn't get your tuition back for that semester. You do know that?
Correct.
Okay, that's all I want to know. Well, that's what we're dealing with
Could
here.
I add something?
Sure.
Well, according to their honesty policy, they made a clear difference between dismissal and expulsion.
I'm going to look at it. Okay?
Okay.
Alex sits. Judy reviews the document.
Okay, so what you gave me now acknowledges that you received the refund policy. Thank you very much, because she wasn't able to prove that she gave it to you, but now you gave it to me, so I know you were given the refund policy when you enrolled your son in school.
So we weren't given, but it's something they have it on their website for you to.
Just a second. Well,
I
then
didn't
you
sign.
look. You don't have to sign. Then you looked at the website. You gave me this. Do you understand?
After
That's what I
this
mean.
happened,
Legal.
I went and tried to understand.
Well,
what
you should have
happened.
done it before.
Well, when
you were
I own a
perfectly
construction
capable of doing it
company,
before.
When I sign a contract, I sign and I explain everything.
You
and
just
people get
told me
copies.
5 minutes ago that you didn't sign any contract. Well, now you acknowledge that you signed the contract. I'm just reading this that you gave me.
A contract has to be a complete contract. If
Just
there
a
is
second.
something.
For somebody who's, not here, not from this country, and doesn't understand things, you seem to understand things very well.
I know the contract has to be completed. so
Well,
if I give
that's
a-
very good. A lot of
Yeah.
people don't know that.
So if I give a contract for a statement, then I say, go in my website to read about our refund policy. That's not part of the contract. That's their rules, no? I didn't sign refund policy.
You don't have to sign a refund policy. You just have to be aware of it.
If I don't know how to get into website or don't know.
You gave me the evidence.
But this
sir.
was done after everything done. I
I'm
looked
not
into
sure.
it. Okay?
You were certainly aware of how to do it, either before or after.
When I sign contract with someone, I disclose everything and they initial and they get copies. I get copies, and that's a legal bonding contract.
Good. What law school did you go to?
None.
Well, there are two things here, but the final piece here says the consequence for academic dishonesty or plagiarism is a score of 0 on the assignment and possibly dismissal from the class.
Okay.
So your son did that in the first semester at least twice. Repeated dishonesty can result in suspension or expulsion. Now you can stand up, because your father says he doesn't understand everything. I think he understands everything just fine. But in case he wants to have you there. Now, when you were discussing this with your father, did you have any conversation with him that suggested to him that, if I went to college and I cheated 3 times or 4 times or plagiarized a paper and I was kicked out of school, I wouldn't get my tuition back? Did you tell him that?
No, we had similar talks, but no, nothing on the school. We talked about, for instance, the signing contract for, let's say, a 1-year lease agreement to live somewhere, but if you breach the contract and they decide to kick you out, it's the same thing as expulsion. You're not required to finish the 1-year contract with them. You don't have to continue paying.
If they decide.
What are you kidding?
I am not. If you get evicted from a property, do you have to continue paying the entire year's lease?
Yeah. If you breach a lease, he or she can evict you. And yes, you will be responsible for the remainder of the lease.
Oh, I was unaware of that.
Yes, you will be responsible for the remainder of the lease. You have to understand, and your father has to understand, the reason that he was expelled is his fault. And the reason he was expelled had nothing to do with them. It had to do with your father, because you were put on notice that he was plagiarizing and cheating on tests.
Caption coming up.
If what you're suggesting is the 3 times that your son was caught cheating were the only times he cheated, you're deluding yourself. He got caught 3 times. Because if these were the only 3 times that he cheated, he is the unluckiest person on the planet.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Robin and Jack.
Robin Slagle has accused her customer, Jack McCurshan, of refusing to pay tuition. Jack claims he is not required to pay because his son was dismissed from her school.
You were put on notice, and instead of being more vigilant, the conduct continued. He lives in your house. How old is he?
14.
14. Well,
I want to ask about this plagiarizing thing, which it is, because remember beginning you asked me 3 times, he was plagiarized by teachers, which I was not.
He was plagiarized by teachers.
Like he was given notice because he lied on a test by teacher, yeah? But it's not exactly what happened.
Well, then you should have, just a second, then you should have contested it, sir.
Well,
you should have contested it. Did you say?
They don't want him to be out of the school. They don't want him to be there.
No.
What do you do? I mean, you
what do you do?
with them?
What do you do? You pay the tuition for that semester because that's your contractual obligation, and you tell your son you better straighten up. And if I have to take you to a psychiatrist, if I have to take you to a therapist, if I have to find a more rigid school environment, I'm going to do that.
Well, he really didn't.
You really have to get this through your head.
When it says cheating, last time he was expelled from school. Do we have a?
No, don't look at her.
That day he had an excellent score on his math, and his last test was his history, and he forgot to learn the history, and he did have a paper with him, but he did not cheat it. Actually, there is no proof he cheated that day.
All right. They're not in the business of expelling children. They're in the business of keeping children in school. How many other students were expelled from the school the semester that this defendant's son was expelled?
0.
Yeah.
Wow.
They're in business of keeping children in school.
I guess my son was that bad for her to expel her.
She said they didn't expel any other children. I'm going to ask her, how many children were enrolled in the program at the same time the defendant's son was enrolled in the program?
Approximately 70, 75.
Okay, and of the 70 to 75 students, the only student expelled was the defendant's son.
Yes, ma'am.
That should tell you something, sir. Stop making excuses.
Okay.
I didn't tell, he didn't look at the paper, he had it underneath him, but he didn't look at it. Well, plagiarizing, so he copied from somebody on a paper that was supposed to be original work, did it once, he did it twice. Do you understand your son has a problem?
Well, we all have problems.
No, I never had a problem being expelled from school, sir, for cheating. I never had a problem being expelled from school for cheating.
I have lied.
I have 5 children and 13 grandchildren. All have completed college, some professional school. None of them have ever been expelled for cheating. That's a lot of people.
Do you feel it's fair to expel a child from a school because of
cheating? Absolutely. Not that I usually let people ask me questions, but the answer is absolutely. Because if 70 children are working hard to get good grades and studying and creating original works when they're supposed to create original works, and your son who's getting a 99 on a math test when he's been getting low scores on tests all of a sudden becomes a shining star one day, and it's a pattern, and then they find another cheat sheet under his bottom. That's something that suggests to the other 70 students that are trying to do the right thing that it's okay to cheat. And so if you want to cheat on this test to get a 99, it's okay. You can't run a school where you permit kids to mingle with kids who are trying with kids who are cheating. So do I think it's fair? Absolutely. Okay, how much money was reversed by this bank?
$1,050 plus $45, a $15 fee per transaction.
$1,095. Okay, judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,095. Sir, your problem is not with the plaintiff. Your problem's with your son.
He's like all of us. He made a mistake. And
no, he didn't make one mistake. I'm going to tell you something. Honestly, I used to say when I was practicing in a different court that if criminals got caught the first time or every time that they committed a crime, they'd stop committing crimes. The problem is they commit a crime and they don't get caught. And then they commit another crime and they don't get caught. Then they commit the third crime and they get caught and they're brought to court. And their lawyer argues this is their first arrest, not their first crime, because they can't argue that, but it's a first arrest. So if what you're suggesting is the 3 times that your son was caught cheating were the only times he cheated, you're deluding yourself. He got caught 3 times. Because if these were the only 3 times that he cheated, he is the unluckiest person on the planet. Okay, we're done here. 1095, judgment for the plaintiff.
Thank you, Your Honor.
This court is adjourned.
Jack, then Robin.
I felt the difference was between the wording, what it means as far as being expelled versus being like sent home.
I'm extremely pleased. This was totally a matter of honesty and integrity, and obviously it stems from the father down to the son.
But he explained that's the same word, and again, that's why you come to court, and she did what she had to do.
We have kids that try to cross the line, come close to that line, but as I mentioned, our instructors are pretty savvy and they're on it, and we can tell pretty much, so.
I am happy finally done. It's been a burden, it's been a stress, and hopefully it's done.
Cheaters never win.
In chambers, Sarah and Judy.
So I think it's really important for the plaintiffs, as the runners of a homeschooling system or a schooling system, to have a better contract for the parents that are signing, especially with a payment plan option. There should be exhibits attached to the signature page, not just referencing, oh, we're agreeing that we read the policy from the website. It's just as easy for you to reprint it, attach it, and require a signature, an initial on the bottom, so that you don't have parents like these that say, I never went to the website, I never saw it.
I agree with you.
If you have problems like this, there's no denying the fact that you initialed each page in each policy.
I think that this is a learning experience because they just started the program in 2020, and this is probably the first experience that they've had because he's the first never expelled anybody else. But they'll clean up the contract.
For sure.
Title, Judy Justice.
Want justice? Go to judyjustice.tv.
Now you have the pigs.
I told him up front, I do not have the money to pay you right now.
And you paid nothing. Then you're going to pay for all of them, sir.
No.
Oh, yes.
The pigs died.
This is Judy Justice. Moore is suing his family friend, Brandon Foreman, for the cost of 4 pigs, a hog waterer, and lost wages.
Court come to order. All rise.
Judge Judy enters.
Have a seat, please.
Kevin approaches.
Hello, Judge. Case 2181, Moore versus Foreman.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Moore, you're suing the defendant because it is your claim that you sold him, I believe, 4 piglets, and he never paid you for them.
Yes, Your Honor.
That's what the case is about. Now, tell me where you live.
I live in Pinehurst, but outside of Pinehurst, south, in a valley.
Pinehurst is where?
In Idaho.
So you live in Idaho. Is
Yes.
that a farming community?
Yes, small.
Who do you live there with?
Me, my mom, and my sister.
You have a farm?
Yes.
How many acres?
Right now, 5, yes. We're working on buying land next to us.
But right now you have 5 acres. Tell me
Yes.
what you raise.
Right now, we raise cows, pigs, and goats.
You own that property?
Yes, Your Honor.
How long have you owned that property and raised those farm animals?
Lived on the property my whole life, raised farm animals since I was about 16.
And you sell them for what?
I mainly do meat animals, so when it comes to beef, cattle, pigs, meat, goats.
But you sell them on their own hoofs?
Yes, yep, on the hoof, not by meat.
And what do you do, Mr. Foreman?
An underground shift supervisor,
What is that?
underground miner.
Do you live close by to Mr. Moore?
Live a couple miles above him,
How long have you lived there?
going on 5 years.
Tell me what interest you have in pigs.
Me and my buddy, we have a hobby, so to speak. He has cattle at his place, and I have raised pigs at mine.
How many acres is your house?
Just over 5.
All you raise are pigs.
Correct.
And I assume you sell the pigs for meat.
Correct.
When was the first time, Mr. Foreman, you purchased pigs from Mr. Moore?
Probably 2 years ago now.
Okay, how many did you purchase?
The first time,
First time.
I think there's 3.
How much did you pay for them?
I don't recall.
Well, how much would 3 piglets be?
I want to say it was 400 and some change.
For 3?
Correct.
Okay. That was a couple of years ago.
Correct.
Did you sell those pigs?
Correct.
They're not part of your current lifestyle?
No, nope.
And you keep them for how long before you sell them?
Until they make a certain weight, about 250, 280 pounds.
Now, when you buy them from the plaintiff or from anybody, how big are they?
The ones that I purchased from Logan were small, probably 30, 40 pounds maybe.
So they must eat a lot for them to get to 250.
A lot.
And give me some idea, because I really don't know the answer to this question. How much would you sell a 250-pound pig for?
If they're totally butchered, cut, and wrapped, it's about $800 to $900. If I'm doing the cutting and wrapping.
And if you're not?
Then I sell it for hanging weight. So whatever the animal weighs after it's butchered out, then we set a price for that. Usually $3.50 to $4 a pound.
You pay about $125 for them. You feed them for a year.
Not quite a year, but close.
Okay, well, not quite a year. And then you sell them for 6 or 7 times what you paid for them, minus the feed, whatever that is, minus what it is to feed.
Except for there's more than just the feed. There's all the time and labor it goes into cutting and
absolutely.
wrapping. And
but you make a profit.
Make a profit, yes.
And you don't go that route. You sell them when they're young?
Correct.
That's your business, to sell them when they're young?
Yes.
Okay. So the first time Mr. Farman bought from you, evidently things went well. Tell me about this most recent sale where there is an issue.
Yes, so Brandon contacted me that I had 4 pigs available.
Did you advertise that you had them available?
I did not. I have a family member that works at a gas station that he goes to. She mentioned to him that I have pigs for sale.
Is that how you found out?
That is correct.
Okay, go.
That I had pigs for sale. And then he got my number from her. He contacted me, said that he is interested in my pigs. We set up a time for him to come meet and look at the pigs.
What date?
It was July 28th, 2022.
Okay.
And then he came and looked at the pigs then, and he liked them.
How old were they?
They were 2.5 months, which would be right around 40 to 45 pounds.
And you had 4 of them?
4, correct.
Is that how many there were in the litter or however?
No, those were just the ones I had left. There were 9 in that litter.
So you had already sold 5?
Yes.
And 4 left?
Yes.
Is that the time you usually buy them, Mr. Farman, when they're 2.5 months old?
No.
How old are they when you usually buy them?
It depends.
Depends on what?
Price, money,
okay.
Where they're at.
Well, so give me a range. What?
So these ones are relatively close. I didn't have to travel far. At the time, they seemed like a pretty decent price deal.
And what did he sell them to you for?
Caption, coming up.
You want to take the pigs, you didn't have any money at the moment, and what was the deal that you came up with?
That I would pay him for them when I was able to.
Nah, that I don't believe.
That
I don't believe.
That is the truth.
Then he's foolish, because when are you able to?
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Logan and Brandon.
Logan Moore claims his family friend, Brandon Farman, owes for the cost of 4 pigs. Brandon says Logan sold him pigs that were sick.
Okay, what did he sell them to you for?
I believe for the 4 pigs and water, it was $7.20.
25, 4 pigs, and there was a water little machine that you also...
No, it was just a plastic tote with nipples on it for the pigs to drink water out of.
Okay.
There was no machine, no nothing to it.
So for $725, you got the 4 pigs and this machine.
It's
whatever.
not a barrel.
Whatever, a waterer, a hog waterer.
Correct.
Right. Anybody have a picture of that to show me?
I do not know.
I'll have to use my imagination based upon Mr. Farman's... Oh, you have a picture of it, sir?
Your Honor.
What?
It was $740, $160 each for the pigs and then $100 for the water.
Judge, I do not. I do not have a picture of the water.
Okay.
The water was like a 275-gallon tank with 4 nipples on the outside of it at the bottom that you can fill with water. Pigs drink out of the nipples easier than they do like a dish.
Whatever. I get the picture. Okay. Now, let's say I take your number, Mr. Farman, $725. You purchased the pigs on July 28th, 2022. Is that right?
Correct.
Did you pay him for them?
At the time that I went and looked at the pigs, I told him up front and plain as day, I do not have the money to pay you right now, right off the bat. I don't have the money. But I was under the understanding from his relative that works at the gas station that he doesn't have the time.
No. You can't tell me what the relative at the gas station told you. You went to see the pigs.
I went to see the pigs.
You went to see the pigs, Mr. Farman, and you told me a moment ago, I said, how much were the pigs? And she's going to read back exactly what you said.
You asked him, did you pay for them? And he said, at the time I went and looked at the pigs, I told him up front, plain as day, I do not have the money to pay you right now.
Before that, there was something about $725.
Okay.
How much were they? And he said the whole thing, the 4 pigs and a watering was $725.
$720 for the pigs and the water machine.
$720.
$720.
Oh, that's what you said. You said they were $720. That was the discussion when you went and looked at the pigs. Okay, and you said, I don't have money right now.
Correct.
And?
So then we came up with a deal that...
Look at me, don't look down. So you came up with a deal. You wanted to take the pigs and the watering thing. You wanted to take the pigs. You didn't have any money at the moment. And what was the deal that you came up with?
That I would pay him for him when I was able to.
Nah. That I don't believe. That I don't believe.
That is the truth.
Yeah. Then he's foolish because when are you able to?
When I was able to.
What does that mean? That means you determine whether or not when and if you're going to pay for these things that you took?
It depended on when I was able to have the money available.
That was in July.
Correct.
You work in a mine.
Correct.
You work for a company?
Correct.
How long do you work for them?
3 years.
Mm-hmm. You get paid annually or by the hour?
Annually.
And what's your pay annually?
$90,000, give or take.
Give or take a what?
I get bonuses.
Okay. You're going to get the month of January at $10.99. How much did you earn last year with bonuses?
I don't know. I haven't received my bonus yet.
Oh, you haven't received it yet? Okay, so it's $90,000 base pay. Who else do you support?
My wife and 5 children.
What does your wife do?
Stay-at-home mom.
When was the last time you sold any pigs?
It's been a while.
How long? Month and year?
It's been probably 6 months, 6, 7 months.
Okay. How many did you sell?
At the time, the last...
6 or 7 in the last 6 months. How many did you sell?
1 or 2.
Well, I want you to think carefully. If you're on a salary and you have a wife and 5 children, that it's important if you make between $800 and $900 for each pig that you have. I want to know if it's 1 or 2.
It was 2.
And let's say I'm not going to take the higher figure, I'll take the lower figure. That's $1,600. You said between $800 and $900 each. That's $1,600 plus your income from your job.
Unfortunately, that $800 to $900 that I get for a pig, that doesn't all go to me. I split that equally with the person that I cut with. The one that raises the cattle that I spoke about.
I don't understand, sir.
I have the shop, I have the space, the shop, the meat cooler, the room at my house to hang and cut animals. He comes up and he helps. We split it equally, right down the middle. So the $800 or $900, I don't get that.
Just a second. He raises cattle.
Correct.
And you split his cattle with him, and you have pigs, and he splits the pigs with you.
No. I let him use the shop and my meat cooler. The cattle's his deal, but he comes up and helps me cut and wrap the pigs.
Oh, then he doesn't get half. That's baloney. That's baloney. If you raise them, you feed them, you paid for them. If he wraps them, you're not giving him half. In any event,
it's not.
In any event, you have a job. You have a $90,000 plus job. You made a commitment of $720 to the plaintiff to pay for his pigs, and you paid nothing.
The pigs died.
Just a second. I read that here. Tell me when the pigs died. Tell me the month and day the pigs died, that you communicated with him. This pig died, that pig died, this pig died.
I didn't communicate with him about when the pig died or when
Did you communicate with him at all? I'm sorry, when he asked you for the money.
Yes,
I'm sorry.
I was.
Okay, when he said, where's my money? That was in what month? I know when July 28th is when you picked them up. In what month did he communicate and say to you, I want my pigs, or I want the money? Tell me.
August.
August what?
One was August 16th, one was August 17th.
Okay, so he communicated with you the 16th and the 17th of August. So by this time, you've had the pigs at your place for about 2.5 weeks. From the 28th to the 16th or the 17th of July.
And the first one had already died in that.
Just a second. During that time, now when did the first pig die?
A week and 3 days after I got it home.
Did you tell him?
No.
Oh, then you're going to pay for all of them, sir.
What?
You're going to pay for all of them.
No.
Oh, yes.
Caption coming up.
Just show me that you said to him, one got sick, it died. I'm afraid for the others, so I just as soon give them back to you and cancel this whole deal. Show me.
I offered multiple times to take the pigs back to him and the water.
Just show me.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Logan and Brandon.
Logan Moore has accused his family friend, Brandon Foreman, of refusing to pay for the pigs he purchased. Brandon claims Logan sold him sick pigs and only one survived.
Go ahead.
So if you went to the grocery store and you bought a bag of apples and the apples are rotten in the middle, but the outside looked fine, you would still pay for those and just be content with them?
I'm going to give you the different example, sir, not apples. I'm going to give you an example with puppies, which I have here all the time. Your pigs were not sold to you with any health guarantee. Let's start there. Dogs, cats, animals, pet animals are usually sold through a breeder or somebody that you buy from. You have a contract that says take the dog or the cat to the vet within the next 3 days or the next 24 hours or 48 hours. Any health deficiency in the cat or dog, we will either refund your money or give you a new cat or a new dog at the discretion of either the buyer or the seller. That's what happens. Now, you had the animals at your place for 2 weeks, and I assume you have other animals. Just assume you have other animals.
I had other pigs at the time.
Just assume you have other animals, and I also assume that you have no vet report.
I do.
I'd like to see it.
Brandon hands a document to Kevin, who brings it to Judy. She reviews it.
This isn't a vet report.
It's the bill.
I don't care about a bill. I want a report.
I don't have a report. I have a bill.
Then, sir, you're going to pay him his $720. You're going to pay him his $720. I don't care what the bill was. How does he know? How do I know what the pig picked up, the one that died, at your place over the course of a week and a half? What you said to me was you took the pigs and said, I'll pay him when I can. Now they're yours.
So I had other pigs at the time, full-grown pigs, that were ready to go. So then I brought these other piglets home. And then the one started getting sick, so then I had to separate the pigs. So then I had to spend all this time and money giving them shots, trying to keep them healthy. And then I had to build a whole separate pen to contain them because I don't want to get the full-grown pigs getting whatever disease or whatever they had.
Did you ever call the plaintiff when the first pig got sick and said, listen, this pig is sick, and I'm not sure about the other piglets that are here, and that's in the first 2 weeks. I'd like to return them to you. He didn't have any babies at the time because he had sold 5. He had 9 in the whole litter or whatever they call it. Just show me that you said to him, one got sick, it died. I'm afraid for the others, so I just as soon give them back to you and cancel this whole deal. Show me where you did that the first 2 weeks in August.
When I first picked up those pigs,
just show me.
I don't have that.
Sir, then what you're saying is unreasonable.
It's not unreasonable. Why do I need to burden him with these sick pigs? But I'm not going to pay for a product that I can't get anything out of.
Then you've become the lawyer for the plaintiff, the lawyer for the defendant, and the judge. You said, I bought them. I didn't pay for them. But I shouldn't have to pay for them because now I had to build a whole separate pen. I had to separate them. And this is all without advising him. All without advising him and saying to him, listen, I didn't want to buy sick pigs. It looks as if these are sick pigs. I don't want the extra responsibility. I don't have the money right now. Take them back. Show me. Show me.
I offered multiple times to take the pigs back to him and the water.
Show me. Show me within the first couple of weeks when one died, so you had to separate all of them. That's the first 2 weeks in August. That's all I want to see.
Right here.
I'd like to see
August 17th.
Okay, great.
The one in blue.
Shh. I'm reading.
Brandon hands a document to Kevin, who brings it to Judy. She reviews it.
This doesn't say anything about sick pigs, sir. August 16th, 17th were the 2 dates you gave me. This was on August 17th. He says, do you have the money to me tomorrow, or I'm getting law enforcement involved? You don't say one of the pigs is sick. One of the pigs died. I'll bring them all back. You say, I'm working on getting you the money. But if this is how it is, then I will bring you back the pigs and all tonight. I have some blank coming up that has taken precedence in my finances. I'm sorry that this has been less than ideal, but this is where I am now. That doesn't say anything about pigs being sick, dying. It says, I have other things to do with my money now. That's what it says, right?
But I clearly
That's
offered
what it
to
says.
bring
Well,
the pigs back.
just a second. That's what it says. He didn't have a buyback agreement from you. Now you have the pigs. Whether they died or whether they didn't die or whether they got sick, you've had them. Now we're in January, August, September, October, November, December. We're in January. We're 6 months later. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $720. Thank you very much.
This court is adjourned.
Outside the courtroom, Logan, then Brandon.
Did not expect Brandon to mention sick pigs.
They just wouldn't put on weight. They started not wanting to eat or drink anymore. Then they just got real skinny, no matter what I did or the vets did.
He never told me.
They just ended up passing away.
If it was sick, I would put them in a treated pen that I have that's actually on concrete where they cannot pick up any other diseases from the ground.
Some kind of infection.
And I make sure the animal is even safe for transport.
Wasn't going to do the blood test on them to try to figure out.
I honestly have done multiple payment plans with multiple farmers.
I shouldn't have to pay.
And I will do it in the future too.
Got frustrated.
I'm glad it's over. I don't have to chase my money anymore.
Sarah and Judy.
So I don't know a lot about pigs or farming or, or housing pigs, but I was really surprised at the profit margin that the defendant was explaining. If you buy the pigs at 40 pounds, not also great at math or word problem math questions, but if you buy a pig at 40 pounds for $160, you have to feed it all the way up to 280 pounds in order to sell it to anyone. You have to, I don't even want to think about how much food that requires to feed the pigs. But then your profit, even if he wasn't splitting it with whoever helps him cut and butcher the meat, is only $800 as a high figure. That seems like a very low profit margin to have pigs in your house and to have them in your backyard and build a pen with 5 kids. That just seems like a lot for a profit margin that I expected to be much higher. That's really labor intensive work. It just blew my mind.
Yeah, different part of the world.
Different part of the world.
So if you don't like that part of the world, then you go to law school.
I guess.
Or you become a podiatrist.
Or you visit.
Or you visit.
Farm.
You visit a farm.
Title, Judy Justice.
Have you been cheated? Go to Judy Justice.
If I got bitten by somebody's vicious dog, that's a traumatic event.
We had an agreement that she signed.
It says this agreement settles a dog bite. Why did you sign this?
I was very high on narcotics coming out of the hospital. I do not remember signing this.
This is Judy Justice. Mila Bazin is suing her former employer, Sarah Adams, for lost wages and pain and suffering after being bit by Sarah's pit bull.
Okay, my issue actually is, in addition to everything else, why would a seemingly smart woman have a dog that she would have to warn people about to come to her front door? Why? I say to myself, why? I don't understand that. And when I was preparing for this case today, looking at the complaint and looking at the answer, I could do a little multitasking. I was reading the newspaper. This is today. A 7-year-old Louisiana girl was mauled to death by a neighbor's pit bull after it ran into her family yard. The name of the person is here. A child was playing outside her East Baton Rouge Parish home Friday when the dog barreled onto the property and viciously attacked her. Family member tried to stop the dog by hitting it with a walking cane, but the animal couldn't be deterred. First grader suffered multiple bites to her face and severe skull damage. She died. The dog was euthanized. The dog's owner told the officers he wasn't home during the attack and regularly lets the dog roam the neighborhood. He was charged Saturday with homicide.
Yeah.
Perfect. perfect. I would go right from charge to execution.
Your Honor, I also have proof that another lady down the street was bitten by...
I'm going to get to you. I'm not finished. Okay. I'm not finished. I don't understand. I have others because it looks like you look like dog-sitting mom killed by pit bulls. North Carolina woman was mauled to death by 2 pit bulls she was dog-sitting for after the mother warned her to stop watching the animals, according to reports. That's all. Husband came home, found her in the backyard being eaten by 2 pit bulls that she was watching for her son. I don't understand. I have more, but I won't bore you with more. So I don't understand why intelligent people have a dog that they know is capable of killing somebody, of just turning and killing somebody. I don't understand it. I think, insurance companies can legally discriminate against people who have pit bulls by saying, we're not going to insure you. And there's a reason for that.
But, Your Honor, I told her before she left not to go in my house. My dog was not outside. My dog was in my home, protecting my family.
I want you to look at the video again. And unless your daughter is a moron and can't follow your instructions, she did not say to her, wait outside.
I understand that.
Just a second. She saw her. She was in charge of your home that day. She permitted her to come in and put the drink down. She did that. You want to watch the video again, or do you acknowledge it?
I don't need to watch the video.
So you acknowledge it. So I don't care what you said to her. When she got there, the circumstances were such that your daughter, who is taller than you are, was very happy to have her come in instead of saying, you're not allowed to come into my house because we have this vicious dog.
She's not vicious.
Oh, yes, a dog that bites somebody that's coming in
She was protecting my children in my home.
Just a second. I understand what you're saying, and I'm saying to you that she came in with your daughter within inches from her. And your daughter, when she opened the door, didn't you see the dog?
No, I didn't realize.
What? You didn't realize?
No, it happened so fast. When I entered the door, I then realized, so I came back to rush to stop Mila, but she already got bit. It was too late. So it is my fault.
Right!
It's not your fault.
I love that. It's too bad that you can't teach that to your mother. It's really too bad you can't teach your mother to say, it's my fault. I have a dog that can be vicious. And so far, the dog has not been vicious to my children. I hope for your sake and your brother's sake that one day the dog doesn't get annoyed with one of your brothers. I just hope. I mean, this lady was about your size, the one that was killed by the 2 pit bulls. An older lady. So I'm hoping your mother chooses to have that instead of double locks taking care of her children. Great. But then she has to pay the consequences.
Caption coming up.
I mean, I have to tell you, I'm old. I'm very old. I'm probably the oldest person that you know. I have never read one article where a Shih Tzu killed a person. That's why I have Shih Tzus. You have Chihuahuas?
Yes.
I've never heard about a Chihuahua killing a person. Ever.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Mila, Sarah Adams, and April.
Mila Bazin claims her former employer, Sarah Adams, owes for injuries after being bit by Sarah's dog. Sarah says Maya accepted a $300 settlement from the incident.
Now, may I see the note that you had from a previous neighbor?
Yeah, so this is a text message from Sarah to me stating that the neighbor down the street...
I can read.
Okay.
Nobody can state to you.
Judy reviews a document.
Okay. What was the name of the other woman that got bit by your dog?
Your Honor, it was my neighbor and
Just a second. I asked you for a name. Did she get bitten anywhere around this time?
No.
What year?
It was 2020, and it was a dog fight that me and her were both trying to break up.
Just a second. It was 2020.
2021, excuse me.
Okay.
She is my neighbor.
Just a second. So a year before, when in 2021? Give me a month.
I don't remember.
Summer, fall, winter,
fall.
spring?
It was fall.
So you're talking about September or October?
Somewhere around there, yes.
Was she treated for the dog bite?
No, Your Honor, it was not severe.
The answer is no. She was not treated for her dog bite. Not seen by anybody.
Correct.
Okay, can I see photographs of the dog bite, please?
And I also have the first initial appearance that I went to the hospital.
Mila hands photos to Kevin, who brings them to Judy. She reviews images of skin contusions and puncture wounds.
Now you can step back up. I have another question for you.
Judy turns to April.
Now you were there. I heard you say from inside, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry." Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, at least twice. Now, after this happened, what did the plaintiff do?
Called me.
No. After this happened, just you and your two younger brothers were home. What did the plaintiff do? She was sitting outside on the porch.
We came and gave her some towels.
Who's we?
My brother.
So you got some towels. I saw she asked you for some towels.
Mm-hmm. And then we tried to give her some Band-Aids.
Put the paper down. You're annoying me.
She said, just let me come in. So I put away the dog.
She said what?
Just let me come in. So I put away the dog and I put her, she was in my mom's bathroom and we were finding Band-Aids and rinsing it off.
And then I didn't ask you a question. Now she's in your mother's bathroom. She's trying to clean it up, and you put the dogs where?
We have kennels for them, cages.
And kennels?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You have kennels for them that you put them in at what time of day? Or when anybody is coming over? When do you use the kennels?
We use them when we leave or about to leave, or if somebody's coming over that they haven't met.
Okay. Now you knew that the plaintiff was coming over. Your mother had told you the plaintiff was coming over.
Yes.
Okay. And did your mother tell you in that phone conversation, would ordinarily ask, because I know I live with people your age and a little bit older, when is McDonald's going to be here? When is it going to be here? Did you ask your mother that question?
No.
Did she give you any indication about how long it would take?
No.
How did you know when plaintiff arrived?
The car pulled up.
So you were looking outside for the car?
Yes.
Great. And when were you looking outside for the car? You knew the food had arrived?
Yeah.
You went outside?
Yes, I closed the door right behind me.
Of course. You closed the door behind you. You went and got the food. There was extra food. She was clearly following you, and you clearly saw that she was following you into the house.
No.
Well, by the time you got to the front door, you want to see it again? You turned around, you saw that she was there, behind you.
That's when I went in the house. That's
No, right before. Right before. Play it again, Sam.
Footage of April carrying food while approaching the house.
She's now out of the car. You're calling your brothers. Turn around, you look at her and smile, say nothing. She walks in, so you say nothing to her. Got it? Don't come in here. Don't come in, just leave it outside. You're both smiling. Smiling. You want to see it again? No, you were both smiling when you walked in. Play it again, Sam.
Footage of Mila approaching April from behind. April turns to her.
Okay, thank you. Got it? Got it?
Yeah.
Okay,
that's when
very
I
good.
realized.
Ms. Bazine, quite frankly, the only thing that's distressing to me about your complaint is that you're only suing her for $3,500. That's the only thing that is, as far as I'm concerned, you could have just as easily been really seriously injured. And to me, people who will keep an aggressive dog, that's an aggressive dog, at home for whatever reason, especially a breed that has been determined to be a potentially dangerous breed of animal, deserves any consequences. This guy, this 20-year-old idiot, is going to jail. If I was sentencing him, he would go to jail for a very long time as an example. Maybe you have to set examples for people who allow innocent people to get killed because they like a particular breed of dog. I mean, I have to tell you, I'm old. I'm very old. I'm probably the oldest person that you know. I have never read one article where a Shih Tzu killed a person. Mm-hmm. That's why I have Shih Tzus. I've heard them, they nipped my finger maybe, they ripped my stockings, they ate the furniture leg, but I've never read apiece. You have Chihuahuas, you have Chihuahua.
Yeah.
I've never heard about a Chihuahua killing a person, ever. Ever. So if you're dumb enough to have a dog, you have to accept the consequences. This guy is going to accept the consequences for his stupidity, for letting his pit bull roam around by going to jail. And you're going to accept the consequences by paying the exact amount that she's requesting, which is $3,500. Your counterclaim is stupid and it's dismissed.
Your Honor,
and I'm done
Your
with
Honor,
you.
we had
I'm
an
done with
agreement that she signed.
Done with you.
We had an agreement that she signed.
Caption coming up.
I was very high on narcotics and coming under the influence of coming out of the hospital. I do not remember signing this. And if it was for her to make me feel better because of what happened.
I'm sorry, Miss Bazin, that's not going to fly with me.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Mila, Sarah Adams, and April.
Defendant Sarah Adams is accusing her former employee, Mila Bazin, of harassment after her dog bit Mila. Mila claims she did not agree to Sarah's $300 settlement.
We had an agreement that she signed. She signed the agreement
Just a second.
for $300 and we were done.
Okay, I'd like to see that.
Please.
If she,
On top of that, the next day she came back into my house to meet the dog
I don't
that
care.
bit her.
I don't care.
You made
What
me-
do I care?
Turned
You
into
made
what it
me
What do
turned
I
meet the
care
dog.
about that? Why would you
she
bring
got bit. She picked at it. I have all this evidence that she picked at it, and that's what it turned into because she didn't take care of it.
I have to tell you, I don't care whether she took care of it or whether it got infected. If I got bitten by somebody's vicious dog, I don't care whether it got infected or not. That's a traumatic event.
The only reason why I was suing.
Just a second. But if you signed a release to her,
She did.
that's a different story.
No, I didn't.
She signed that paper.
Don't.
Sarah Adams hands a document to Kevin, who brings it to Judy. She reviews it.
Why did you sign this? This is clear. First, Kevin.
Can I see it, please? And what is it dated on?
Well, it says this agreement settles a dog bite that happened on 7/18.
This was signed in October, November.
Shh. If you shout out again.
Because I was missing all my money. I was not getting paid. I needed something from her.
What do you mean? I don't understand what you mean you weren't getting. Here.
Is there a date on this?
And I do have other things that she signed if you need to verify the signature.
I was very high on narcotics and coming under the influence of coming out of the hospital. I do not remember signing this. And if it was for her to make me feel better because of what happened.
I'm sorry, Miss Bazin, that's not going to fly with me.
Well,
that's not going to
I
fly with
didn't-
me. If you accepted the $300,
No, I didn't.
shh, pay careful attention to what I'm saying before you answer. If you and the defendant in any action can at any time, even without a lawyer, if neither of you have a lawyer, I'm speaking, can settle a claim if they wish to settle a claim before getting the courts involved. That can happen. And that should happen in many instances. I'm not quite sure this one, but it certainly should happen more often than not. You settle for less than you were entitled to. You settled for $300. Did she give you $300?
No, Your Honor.
May I see that document, please?
She did not.
Okay, let's see whether
Also
she did.
referring to a car battery?
No. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. I agreed to give Mila $300. Did she give it to you?
No.
Show me that you gave it to her. And when?
I gave her cash. It's on camera at work. I handed her at work with my boss there. My boss, you can call him right now.
I'm
He
not
will
calling your
corroborate it.
Listen to me. I'm not calling your boss. That's your problem to prove it.
I also helped her when her car broke down.
I don't
paid
care.
for a battery.
I don't care.
I paid for
Listen
lift
to me.
rides for her.
I don't
dog
care.
bit me.
Shh. I don't care. All I want to see is proof that you handed
I
her.
gave her cash.
$300.
I don't have proof because I gave her cash. and
Well,
it's
that's a
stupid.
problem for you. Did she give you cash?
Your Honor, no.
No,
She
just
helped
a-
me out with a car battery
Why
and
would
then she
you sign that?
accumulated.
Just a second. It doesn't say that you gave her $300.
Your Honor, she's
It
lying.
says I agreed to give her.
She's lying. I handed her $300 and made her and had her sign that at work. We did it at work. She's lying.
She threatens
Well,
me.
then I'm going to give this to you. She says you didn't give her the $300. You have no proof that you gave her the $300. You have no proof.
I don't.
You don't have any proof. $3,500. Judgment for the plaintiff. We're done.
This court is adjourned.
I feel like if it would have been a Shih Tzu that bit her and did that damage, I feel like the judge would have gone in my favor.
And I knew I would get justice coming here for pit bulls. She takes care of the community. I'm so glad that happened that way.
I had a lot of evidence, and the reason why her bite turned into what it looks like now is because she didn't take care of it. She picked at it.
I was happy to bring the kids food. I'm that type of person.
Because I have documentation of her picking at it. She went to the hospital 4 different occasions.
It's pretty traumatizing.
I know she was fine because I have text messages that prove that she was fine.
And all of a sudden, the dog just got me.
That it was her fault. She knew better than to go in the house.
Right when I walked in, the dog lynched and grabbed my leg.
I walked in, and then I realized there was a voice behind me. I went back and saw that Milo was back, and she got bit by that time, so I went to go help her.
Locked its jaw. The burnt tooth went really far down deep. Me and the baby girl both had to hit the dog to get him off of me.
I picked up the dog, and I put her in her kennel.
Very terrifying. I still have PTSD, and even watching that video was shocking.
She was constantly complaining about the dog bite to myself, my boss, slandering me every chance that she got.
Absolutely ridiculous.
And I said, Milo, look, this needs to be settled once and for all.
Bullied me and put me in a position, cornered me, and made me do what she wanted to do. She was my boss, so whatever she said, I had to do.
What do you want? She said, give me $300 and I'll sign something saying we're done. So that's what I did.
I don't know. Some people are different.
Sarah and Judy.
So I just wanted to point out a distinction in the articles that you brought in. I know you've been hearing these pit bull cases for decades, and so I understand your outrage every time you see one. But the distinction in the news articles that you brought in today as examples, as well as this case, there's a couple key differences. One, the main one being, in the newspaper articles, the dogs were outside the home, outside the control. And in this case, the defendant wanted to make it especially known that the dog never left her home. However, from a legal standpoint, it's a more egregious charge if you allow your dangerous animal out and about in society without any sort of warning. However, just because it's inside your home doesn't absolve you from that responsibility. The plaintiff was still an invitee into the home. Like you had said, the daughter had every opportunity from the street all the way up the sidewalk, all the way onto the porch, and even into the screen door that you can see on the video opened up. Never once said, oh, just wait outside. Even with my own dogs. Or leave the food on the porch. Even with my own dogs, golden retrievers. Sometimes I never know if they're going to be overexcited. I say, just hang on 1 second out here. Let me make sure they're good. And I make sure they're happy, whatever. And then I say, come on in. So she had every opportunity to do that, and she didn't. So like you had mentioned to her, it's not like the plaintiff was a trespasser or trying to steal or trying to harm her children. And you're still responsible for your dangerous animals, even if they're inside your home.
Yeah.
So just think that's a word to the wise, that it's not just when they're outside your control that you can be held liable.
I thought it was also interesting, now that I think about it and listen to what you're saying, usually when you have a dog that you know is dangerous, because let us assume that I believed her when she said, I said don't go into the house, which I don't believe her. You usually have a sign if you live in a private house and you're using the dog for protection, to have a sign, dangerous dog.
Beware of dog.
Beware of dog, because somebody may come and deliver a package, open your screen door. You never know when something can happen. So you at least give the public notice that there is potentially a vicious animal inside. You're absolutely right.
Title, Judy Justice.
Are you a victim of an assault? Go to judyjustice.tv.
It's your claim that the defendant hit your scooter.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that a fair representation of the accident site?
No, it's not.
How did you know? You wasn't even there. You wasn't even there.
You called him an idiot!
She's gone.
In front of my son!
Gone.
This is Judy Justice, a suing fellow motorist, Robin Major, for scooter damages after Robin hit Matthew's scooter.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, everyone.
Kevin approaches Judge Judy.
Hello, Judge. Case 2197, Klinghoffer versus Major.
Thank you.
Judy turns to Matthew.
You were riding a motor scooter.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you describe it for me, please?
It is a 2018 Yamaha Zuma.
Is that a small?
No, I got a picture of it here.
Can I see that, please?
Matthew hands a document to Kevin, who brings it to Judy. She reviews an image of a scooter.
Yeah, well, it's small.
Yeah, it's a small vehicle.
You were on this vehicle with a child?
Yes, ma'am.
That was your son, who's how old?
12.
What's his name?
Justin Barr.
He's not here today.
No.
Why not?
He has autism.
And you were riding with him going where on October 20th of last year?
I just picked him up from school and I was on my way home.
How far is it?
The school is less than a half a mile from my home.
Do you pick him up every day?
Most of the time, yeah, but since this accident, I have not picked him up since. Mom does.
So there's a car available to
Yes.
pick him up. It's your claim that the defendant, while acting negligently, hit your scooter and damaged it.
Yes,
You
ma'am.
want him to be responsible. That happened on the 22nd of October. I assume sometime after 3 o'clock?
Yes. It was at
In
3:18.
In what state do you live?
Evansville, Indiana.
Is there any sort of helmet rule in Indiana?
No, ma'am.
Yes, there is.
My son, for a child, yes.
Just
he
a
was.
second. So the answer is either yes or no. You
Yes,
said
ma'am.
no. So
for
there
me, no. For my son, yes.
was your son wearing a helmet?
Yes, ma'am.
You know he was
Shh,
not.
shh. No, listen to me. Shh. Don't speak.
He had a small purple bicycle helmet on
Now, you wear a helmet because
to keep him from getting his head hurt.
hurt.
Yeah.
Right. Well,
Which I-
just for my own interest, why wouldn't you wear a helmet to prevent you from getting hurt?
Dumb is what dumb does.
Well, that would be an answer because that sounds sort of reckless to me.
Yes, ma'am. I wear a helmet now.
And I'm not so sure your son was wearing a helmet on the 22nd of October either, sir. So I want you to be very, very careful when I ask you this question again. Are you positive that your son was wearing a helmet on the 22nd of October?
No, ma'am. I wasn't 100% positive,
Okay.
but he normally
Just a sec.
always is wearing a helmet.
Okay. On your way home, I understand you have some sort of a chart to try to explain to me what the accident was. This is your version of the accident. So you want to
Yes.
step over there, Mr. Klinghoffer?
Yes, ma'am.
That would be you and your son riding, both of you, probably without helmets. And it looks, that's your version, and it looks
I
as
was
if...
sitting in traffic.
Just a second.
Sorry.
And it looks as if there's a lot of traffic.
Yes, ma'am.
So a lot of traffic, no helmets, you're on your way home, and, go ahead.
I was just sitting in traffic here, waiting for the train to clear, and he comes out of his driveway and backs right into me.
Okay.
No horn, no regard of me being there.
Wait 1 second. On the other side, this is your chart.
Yes, ma'am.
On the other side of where the defendant's driveway is, which I assume is the blue car, that's his driveway, is that a street?
Yes, ma'am.
You know where I'm talking about?
Yes,
Point to where I'm talking about.
This is a street
Yes,
called...
that's a street.
Yes.
And that's a street that has cars.
Yes, ma'am.
Right. So one would say you should not be in that intersection.
Well, I
Just a
didn't-
second. Just a second. One would say, even in your chart, you should not be in that intersection. You should be either have enough room in front or wait until the traffic moves because you're stuck in the middle. So a car can't move out of...
I was actually sitting about right here.
Well, this is your chart.
Yes, ma'am.
So you indicate that that chart is not absolutely correct.
No, it's
and
not.
that your scooter was right behind the three cars.
Behind these three cars here.
But still in the intersection.
Yes, ma'am.
Just a second.
We was coming to a rolling stop as the arms were coming down, so I didn't know where I was going to stop at, so I was rolling with traffic. And the vehicle that was in front of me was also pulling a trailer, and I couldn't see around it. It was a big box trailer.
So you couldn't see what was in front of you?
No, I could not. And I got as far away from his driveway as I possibly could.
No, you weren't even thinking about his driveway, sir. Let's be square. You know, it's not a good idea to make things up as you go.
No.
You didn't even know that his driveway was there.
Yeah, I did.
You did?
I knew
Just a
it was
second.
there, but
You-
I was trying to get it far enough out of the way of the intersection. I didn't think he was going to come out of his driveway and back into me, ma'am.
Well, so you were watching the other side, not the driveway?
Yeah,
Is
I
that
was
what
looking
you
at
say?
the intersection,
Yeah.
just making sure I
Yeah.
got out of the intersection, got past the yellow line.
Okay. So he clipped the...
Rear, right by my taillight.
Yeah, back here.
Yes, ma'am.
And what happened? You can go back now.
And it literally just shoved me over.
Okay, go back. So it shoved you over. Now, when it shoved you over, did you land on one foot or did you land on the pavement?
We landed on the pavement. I tossed my son up because he was sitting in front of me. Up onto
just a
his
second.
feet.
Oh, hold on.
I went into
Hold
dad
the phone.
mode.
Hold the phone. Your son was sitting in front of you.
Yes.
Is that what he said?
He was sitting in front of me.
So your son was driving.
No, he was not
I'm
driving.
trying
I was
to get.
driving.
I'm trying to get this picture in my head.
I'm being a
with
protective
this little.
parent.
Just a second. With this little scooter, your son was in front of you. This is one seat, so he was sitting in front of you.
Yes, ma'am.
Your 12-year-old.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. And how tall is your 12-year-old?
Probably about 5 foot, if that.
My size.
Yes.
So, like a fully grown adult. He may be not yet fully grown for a kid, but I'm a fully grown adult, and I'm 5 feet tall, and I've been that my whole life. So I'm an adult.
Yes.
Right? Okay. So your adult child is sitting in front of you. You're sitting behind him.
Yes.
Now I want you to explain to me, hold out your arms. I want you to explain to me how your son is in front of you, you're behind him in the back part of this seat, and you're driving. I want you to explain that to me.
Caption coming up.
The 12-year-old driving the motor scooter.
He was not driving.
I don't believe you.
I don't believe you either.
I don't care whether you believe me. You're not judging me. I'm judging you. So that means that if I don't believe you, that's important. If you don't believe me, that is irrelevant.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Matthew and Robin.
Matthew Klinghoffer claims fellow motorist Robin Major hit Matthew's scooter while Robin was pulling out of his driveway.
Go ahead.
I'm reaching around my son and driving. I've been doing it since I was 16. I've been driving scooters since I was 16.
Hey, you may have been driving scooters when you're 16, but I've been using my common sense for 80 years. And I don't see why your son wasn't sitting behind you so you didn't have to lean over on that big, long seat in order to be maneuvering this scooter. I'm not visualizing that, Mr. Klinghoffer, so I want you to take a deep breath. Kevin, let me see Mr. Major's diagram.
Robin hands a document to Kevin, who brings it to Judy. She reviews a photo of a scooter.
So I want you, your son is sitting in front on the seat. You're sitting in the raised portion behind him. I want you to put that down there.
Kevin brings the photo to Matthew.
Which sitting back there in the raised portion makes me sit up much higher than him.
Matthew makes a mark on the photo.
Sarah, does your research indicate how long this thing is? Does it give any dimensions?
I'm sure I could find it.
Okay, so he clipped the back and you fell off?
We fell over. I stood my son back up. I got up.
So you fell over and son got up?
I got my son up. I got up. He was still pushing my vehicle. I got up to smack on the back of his window. And then he gets out and aggressively screaming at me, "Why are you smacking on my window? Why are you trying to break my window?"
Okay.
I asked him, "Why are you still proceeding to try to run over my vehicle?"
But he's not trying to run over your vehicle, sir. What kind of car did he have? He had a truck.
Chevy Blazer, 2003.
Big one. He's in a very high SUV, right? And you're in a very low scooter. Now, neither you or your son went to the hospital, is that right?
No, ma'am.
Neither you or your son had medical treatment at the scene.
My son was looked over, but that was
Just a second. Neither you had medical treatment at the scene.
No.
Neither you or your son went to a doctor.
No.
Now, do you have a photograph of what your scooter looked like after this accident? Because this is his photograph.
That's after the accident. There's another one.
Okay, I'd like to see what your photograph looks like.
There's all of them.
Mr. Klinghoffer of the
working on it,
motorcycle, because Mr. Major is handing me up his photographs of what this looks like.
Matthew produces photos.
Here's the whole stack.
Okay, so what we're talking about is this piece right here.
That's my exhaust. And
Just a second, that's what's damaged.
that
This
and
piece,
the upper panel there.
I don't see anything damaged in the upper
On my
panel.
picture, it shows it.
I'd like to
I
see
bet
it.
it does. Now on that muffler, that's rust.
That's not rust.
I might not know nothing about scooters, but I know what rust looks like.
Mr. Major,
Yes, ma'am.
I don't know what's wrong with you. I made myself clear pleasantly to you, respectfully to you, but you certainly understood that here we don't talk to each other.
Yes, ma'am.
That you will have a turn right now. It's his turn.
Yes, ma'am.
And Your Honor, that wheelbase is 50 inches, so about 4 feet wheel to wheel.
Okay, so let me see. So from here to here, wheel to wheel is 4 feet. So sitting on the back here, in order to get to the handlebars.
Maybe like 3 feet.
3 feet. Hold out your arms. Nah. Okay. Now, just to complete your story, sir, Mr. Klinghoffer, this happened in October, and you said you wear a motorcycle helmet now, or a helmet now, since the accident.
Yes, ma'am.
Since this accident.
It scared me straight.
And Did you or did you not have the scooter repaired?
No, I have not had it
Just a
repaired.
second. So the answer is no. Pay attention, Mr. Klinghoffer, from which I deduce, you're looking at your papers, from which I deduce that the motor scooter is operable. You've been using it since October, despite the, oh yes, that's what you just said.
I haven't been using it.
Who's been using it?
I got 3 others.
No.
I got 3 other scooters that I've been driving.
I don't
have
believe,
not been driving
just
that
a
one.
second, I don't believe you, sir.
Okay.
I want you to be really careful about what you say to me. You do wear a helmet now. Now you know where I'm going, Mr. Klinghoffer. Since the accident, so does your son. There is nothing that appears to be mechanically wrong with this motor scooter in either your photographs or his. Nothing mechanical.
Estimate.
I don't care what your estimate says, sir. My naked eye. First of all, you understand that I'm doubting.
I understand,
I'm doubting big parts of your story, Mr. Klinghoffer.
I understand, ma'am.
I doubt big parts of your story about whether or not you were wearing a helmet. I don't think your son was wearing a helmet. I think that this diagram indicates to me that you were in a place where you shouldn't have been. That's your diagram. He has his own diagram that'd probably be very different. So I am going to assume, because that's my common sense, that you and or your son have been riding this motor scooter since October and that it hasn't sat idly. I don't care what you got, because the pictures belie the fact that this motor scooter was damaged beyond being rideable. And that's if it was his fault. Okay, now we've got his picture, now we're coming to you. Is that a fair and accurate representation
Yes.
of the accident site?
No, it's not.
Yes.
Now,
How would you know? You wasn't even there. You didn't show up 20 minutes after the fact.
Excuse me.
You did not show up. She wasn't even there.
I'm going to throw you out, and you're going to lose this. I'm going to throw you out, and you're
When
going to
you
lose.
called him an idiot in front of my son.
Okay, she's gone. Gone.
A woman leaves.
Yeah. I know why you can't afford insurance.
Gone.
We wouldn't be here today if he had insurance.
Did you understand why I threw your wife out?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what you people think this is all about. The fact that he had is what you say to me, he had no insurance, which is why you're here?
Yeah, we wouldn't be here right now if he had insurance, and insurance would have took care of all
Yeah,
that.
well, it's possible, Mr. Klinghoffer, that you wouldn't be here right now, and I haven't made a decision yet if you weren't driving recklessly, without helmets, with your son, who according to you has issues, the 12-year-old driving the motor scooter.
He was not driving.
I don't believe you.
I don't believe you either.
I don't care whether you believe me. You're not judging me, I'm judging you. So that means that if I don't believe you, that's important. If you don't believe me, that is irrelevant.
Caption coming up.
Were you driving your car uninsured?
I was moving my...
Oh, no. Be very careful what you say to me. You turned the ignition on, started to move. That's driving.
Whitney smirks. A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Matthew and Robin.
Matthew Klinghoffer is accusing fellow motorist Robin Major of hitting him and his son while Robin backed out of his driveway.
Okay, your statement, Mr. Major, based upon this diagram, is that the defendant pulled out and was to sort of beat the traffic and was driving not in a lane, which suggests to me, sir, that you saw him.
I didn't see him.
Well, how do you know that he pulled out?
When I was backing out, the car that's adjacent there waved me out.
You mean the car
behind?
Go over there. I know what you're talking about, just so that we're clear. The car behind said you.
This car, as I'm coming out my driveway, he's saying, he's waving me out.
He's waving you on to suggest that it's clear.
So I'm coming out and I didn't see him, Your Honor.
You didn't see him?
No.
Okay, now go back. Now, Mr. Major, we're going to get to insurance. Were you driving your car uninsured?
I wasn't. I was moving my...
Oh, no. Be very careful what you say to me. You put a key in the ignition. You turned the ignition on. You put the car in reverse.
Yes, ma'am.
Started to move. That's driving.
Yes, ma'am.
And driving far enough into the street so you weren't on your property.
No, my car was still in.
Oh, no, Mr. Major. Mr. Major, you said that that's a fair and accurate representation of the accident
That's
scene.
my driveway.
The back of your car is not in the driveway. The back of your car is in a public street. That's
Right,
what you
I would know
Yeah,
that,
he
yeah.
was, listen to me, Mr. Major. I'm an equal opportunity abuser. You have to understand that. So please, you know, I'm sort of ancient, but please don't treat me as if I'm stupid.
No,
You know, people confuse age with stupidity.
I
That
wouldn't
would be
do
a huge mistake on your part.
Yes.
Huge. Unless you're suggesting he came up on your driveway, which this doesn't suggest at all. You were in a public street without insurance.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, that would be an easy. Did the police respond to this accident?
Yes, ma'am.
Is there a police report?
There is
May I have it,
anything they
please?
gave me.
Right here.
Matthew hands a document to Kevin, who brings it to Judy.
Scuff and scratch marks were observed on the left side of vehicle 2. That's what the police officer observed. Now, what did you do after this accident, Mr. Klinghoffer?
I called the police.
You got the police. The police came, they took a report, they spoke to you. Now, you were picking your son up from school.
Yes, ma'am.
Where did you go?
I went home.
You went home with your son. Now, when you went home with your son, you were riding in front, is that correct?
We walked home. My vehicle was not rideable. My exhaust pipe was
Just a
bent.
second. How did you get the motor scooter?
I pushed it.
Did you see him push the motor scooter?
I seen him push it down so far, and then he got on it.
Just a second. Would you bring in Mr. Klinghoffer's wife?
Kevin leaves the courtroom. He returns with Matthew's wife.
This way.
Step over next to your husband, please. Were you at home when your husband came home with your son after this accident?
He actually called me.
Just a second. I said, were you at home?
Yes, I was at home.
Who else was home with you?
My brother and my friend.
You say your husband called you and he told you about the accident.
Yes.
And what did you do?
Me and got in the car and we pulled up and I parked in the middle of the street.
Go over to that chart and show me where you pulled up.
Matthew's wife, Brittany, approaches the traffic diagram.
About right here.
Okay, so you pulled up right near where the accident was?
Yes.
And where was your husband?
He was right here with Justin.
Okay, go back.
She joins Matthew at the plaintiff's table.
And then what happened? Police come, police leave. I want you to tell me what happened next.
After the police and fire department and ambulance leave, me and Justin walked to where they told me to park my car. So me and Justin got in the car.
And your husband?
He was walking the scooter back to our house with.
And is that how he arrived at the house, walking with the motor scooter?
Yes.
Very good. Kevin, she can go out now.
Okay. This way, please.
Brittany leaves with Kevin.
Now, as soon as Kevin gets back, I'm going to take a look at your estimate.
Matthew hands a document to Kevin.
Thank you, Kevin.
Kevin brings it to Judy, who reviews it.
Okay, so protector muffler, reasonable. Front fender, unreasonable. Just a second. You understand?
Yeah.
Okay. Radiator cover, footrest boards. No. Rear reflector is reasonable. Exhaust pipe. Okay. Now, Mr. Major.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to tell you that ordinarily I would award him half the damage because I think that he was 50% responsible for this accident. I think he was driving negligently with his son. I think his son was actually, his 12-year-old son was driving the scooter. I think that that's what happened because his story about him sitting in the rear seat hunching over his son in a 4-foot wheelbase is not something that I can conjure. And if it was true, it was still reckless. So I would actually ascribe half of his damage to him. I'm not, and I'm going to tell you why. Because if there was a lot of traffic, you are at least partially responsible for not being more cautious. You're driving in a big car, there was somebody behind you because you did in fact hit them. And you have to be very cautious when you're driving a big car. The reason I'm ascribing all the damage to you, sir, is because you had no insurance. And nobody belongs on the road without insurance. And there has to be a penalty when you're driving without insurance, just like when you're driving without a license. Do you require a license? Just a second. Hey! Where you live, which Sarah can check, do you need a driver's license to ride a scooter on the street?
No, you need an endorsement for a Class B scooter.
A what?
An endorsement for a Class B scooter.
Okay. Do you have that?
Yes, ma'am.
Does your son?
No.
Your son was driving. Your case is dismissed. We're finished here. Thank you very much.
My son was not driving.
Court is adjourned.
Robin.
I had insurance, but I had it on my other vehicle, not on my truck. I didn't feel nothing until he was pounding on the back of my window. I did not see the scooter until after the fact. Wear your helmet when you're on a scooter and have insurance when you're back on your driveway.
Judy and Sarah.
You know what was interesting about that, Sarah, to me? The one thing he said, which came out sort of by accident, was that his son was in front of him. And there's no question that...
I can imagine a world in which you're very uncomfortably trying to ride around your son, but he's not a 7 or 8 year old. You know, he's a teenage boy who's 5 feet tall, and that would be like one of us sitting in front of him. So I agree that it doesn't make the most sense. I could fathom it. However, common sense kind of kills it.
Common sense kind of kills it, and so does, we were all wearing helmets.
Yeah.
And so does, I pick him up in the motor scooter, and this guy for sure lets his 12-year-old son drive it, and there's a lot of traffic based upon what both things, and the defendant had no insurance. They deserved each other.
Yeah.
Huh? What? ولې څنګه خوخه
صبر کومای دا ته باندې ولا
څنګه خوخه ده وسو شو Tuzwana şey.
Na. Koy maç ya aç öyle bir karım ko kana. Wajah kuma da tura da ke tsara kana mai wani. Da fis pura sho kana wani da 10 sura da choba ke dawas daga. Da Quran akle. Ne da ce ek na wale tisa ko na pura shi me biya ba da rawan 10 la raka. Ah.
Apura de dawrasa.
Aynen dağara kelime. Pagay taban show.
Suçuna sayılır. Suçun ne var orada? Diz ne bende? Mata mo azana chalu jo. Bia boy. Bia boy do raha. चलो खुद है पता नहीं शबात नहीं शबात خاصیشی خراب یاده
यार कना अगर शुरू की
हाल तो दोबारा चालू है ना बस 300 तो
5,000 कसे पैसे रावड़ा
50 दूसरे पेड़ लगा दो 50
वही चालू का काम वही
तो दे देना तो दे